This will be very exciting, and you can see there's a lovely little head breeze still. It's not quite as grotty, I think was the adjective that we've used to describe it. It's certainly unhelpful. But in this first heat of the schoolgirl sprints, we have Melbourne Girls Grammar, Adelaide High, Trinity Lutheran, Strathcona, Ballarat, Clarendon, Askham and Strathcona. So 3 Strathcona crews in this first heat.
They're a big program, Strathcona, but they've done well to get 3 crews into the same heat here as well.
That's a lot of boats to bring down on the ferry.
Absolutely is, but yeah, they do seriously good numbers at that school. So heats for the first hour and a quarter or so here, and then we'll go to the finals after that. So the qualification pretty cutthroat here in the schoolgirls quad sprints with 4 heats, and the top 2 from each will go through. And they're racing already in this first heat. So Melbourne Girls Grammar School just set on the inside of the course. We look and see who's got away best of all. It might be Trinity Lutheran from the Gold Coast there in the green boat, I think, with the narrow advantage. And then across to the other side, the Askham School. Lizzie Chapman watching carefully as that crew with Kitty Elias, Izzy Bug, Chloe Hitchens, Sabrina Koskar and Pepper Grenfell look to be in one of the top 2 spots. And they're certainly also Trinity Lutheran.
High from South Australia, Eleanor Nettlefold, Felicity Cox, Scarlett Shanks, Georgie Twelvetree and Harriet Wilson.
The Gibson Grammar School on about 35 strokes per minute here, so they're certainly working hard through the middle stages of this sprint, but they are in a qualifying spot, along with Unley High from South Australia. Across in lane number 8, Redlands not too far back in, probably 3rd. Kira Attard, Jemima Hugman, Alana Winder, Annabelle Huang and Carolyn Pedro Anaccio, coached by Kate Tidbury, James Petering and Cameron Butler. And a good race too on this side of the course between Loretto Ballarat and Newcastle Grammar School, but it's top 2 only, so it is all or nothing here. Redlands trying to move
Grammar and Kinross Walleroy now just extending that lead out. Brendan Shaw sitting in 3rd place. Here comes Launceston Grammar in lane number 1. How much of a sprint have they got over the crew from Orange and Kinross Walleroy? Over on the far side, it's still Brisbane Girls Grammar with that lead. Kinross, they've been sitting in 2nd the entire way. It's 100 metres or so left to go. Launceston Grammar are coming. They're coming down the inside lane now in lane number 1. Have they got enough? Brisbane Girls Grammar have led from the start. They're starting to be pushed by Kinross Walleroy and Launceston Grammar. It is going to be the girls from Brisbane Girls Grammar coming through, taking the win. Half a boat length ahead of Kinross Walleroy, who in turn were half a boat length ahead of Launceston Grammar back in 3rd place. A great race there. And then coming through in 4th, it will be the crew from Brendan Shaw. And then they finished ahead of Ballarat, Clarendon, and then just about throw a Pashmina over the final 3 crews. That was Brendan Shaw, Loretto Ballarat, and St Patrick's College. Already some exciting racing, and that was a 1:55.64, so that was a few seconds quicker in heat number 3, Brisbane Girls.
Yes, getting faster across these 4 heats of the schoolgirls quad scale sprint, but a good win there from Brisbane Girls Grammar School. You can just see they got in front in the very early strokes of the race and were able to keep going on. And the crew there from Launceston Grammar School rowing in a boat named the Alexandra Viney. She is, of course, as we learnt yesterday, a past student of the Launceston Grammar School, the lane 1 boat there, but they've just missed out on a qualifying spot because Brisbane Girls Grammar School and Kinross Walleroy take those 2 positions, but we're underway already in the next of our sprint heats, Stuart.
Yeah, Radford College in lanes 1 and 2, Corowa Anglican in lane 3, Redlands in lane 4, Kinross Walleroy lanes 5 and 6, and then Unley High from South Australia in lane number 7. And this is going to be a fascinating race here, Richard, because we know how quick. Oh, it looks like one of the Kinross crews is scratched, so lane number 6 is scratched. So we know how quick the Kinross crews are, and you can see the Radford crew in lane number 2. That is Gigi Hickey, Freya Teschendorf, Lily Soderblom, Emily Brennan, and Charles Kendall. And then the Kinross crew lane 5, Jemima Scammell, Ruby Lego, Maggie Kirby, Sienna Wilkin, and Emily Caro. They're our 2 leading crews through these early stages.
Yeah, clear top 2 here, so Radford and Kinross, that red boat there, which is the Corowa Anglican Girls School from Melbourne. Red lands alongside them in the white boat, confusingly enough, and then towards the far side, Unley High of South Australia, and Radford College again in lane 1, so 2 boats in the race also for Radford College from the ACT, but it is a lead here, as happened so often to the crew of Kinross Walleroy in lane number 5, but keeping a watchful eye out on that combination on the far side, who are making up some ground now. Unley High, Maya Lassou, Rachel Luscombe, Lauren Halls, Grace Charters and Charlotte Hooper, coached by Madison Newland and Ethan Mons, a crew that's been busy over the course of this regatta and certainly moving up to challenge now Radford College in the race for a qualifying spot. Back a little then, we go to Redlands, Corowa and the second crew from Radford College in the ACT. I think there's 3 chances here across the course. The light blue boat of Kinross Walleroy is certainly clearly one of those on lane number 5 with about 50 metres to go. Unley High the far side, Radford College on the spectator side of the course, and maybe Unley High making up some ground now in the closing strokes of this race. Kinross will get it by half a length, and Unley High will take the second qualifying spot over on lane 7. A good race from them there. Radford College third. 4th will be Redlands, 5th Corowa and 6th Radford College.
Fantastic row there from the crew from Unley High in South Australia, managing to get through into second with about 5 metres or so left to go. They'll join Kinross Walleroy in the final of the Schoolgirl Cox Quad Sprints, a winning time there of 2 minutes and 2.89. But again, with the wind conditions gusting through, I wouldn't necessarily assume that the quickest are necessarily going to be the quickest in the finals. That's been 4 heats of the Schoolgirl Cox Quad Sprints. We'll move on to the first heat of the Schoolgirls Cox 8 sprints.
Yes.
In lane number 1, Farn. Lane 2, Seymour College. Lane 3, Walford Anglican. Lane 4, Seymour College. Lane 5, Scotch College Adelaide. Lane 6, Loretto Ballarat. And lane 7, St Catherine's Melbourne. Top 4 through to the final.
Yeah, it's about to get faster again here. So just 2 heats in the Schoolgirls 8 sprint. So it's the top 4 who'll go through to the final, and then our next event, the Schoolboys Quad, again has the much bigger field. So 4 heats required there. You can see on camera there the crew from St Catherine's just moving up to the start line.
I think we might even be a little ahead of schedule.
Yes, I was just thinking that. We are in fact about 7 minutes ahead of schedule. So those first few races did seem to come down very fast together, but that was why they were not 5 minutes apart. And this next one will be underway pretty soon as well. This is, it looks like the Division 2-8 from St Catherine's, so not the crew we saw so dominant in the heat of the 2,000 metre Schoolgirls 8 race only an hour or 2 ago, I think that was. But a good crew regardless.
Yeah, that was a bit of a turnaround from that St Catherine's school. In the heat, they were poor, I think, or poorer than we would necessarily expect, losing.
Not what we thought they would be, yeah, definitely.
But then in the semi-final, they just absolutely blitzed it. So, I mean, tomorrow's racing is going to be fantastic. We've got the A finals of the schoolboy, schoolgirl quads, the 4s, the 8s. We've got the club finals. We've got, and then the interstate. Yeah,
a huge day. It sort of builds as the day goes on. We begin with some B, C and D finals, and then move through the finals of the school events with the smaller boats first, and then the bigger boats. We conclude just before lunch with the final of the Schoolgirls and Schoolboys 8 and the Club 8s as well, which are always 4 fantastic 8 boats. As there's about an hour or so, an actual lunch break takes place tomorrow because we have
a lunch break.
I know, and then it goes again with exactly, and then the set goes underway. But here goes the crew from St Catherine's here, and they are away, and they did look to have Cox doing a very good job making sure they weren't left behind on the line, at least let's say it that way diplomatically. But it was St Catherine's lane number 7 crew of Sophie Farrer, Violet Stevens, Alice Dobbin, Poppy Cashmore, Chloe Barber, Sarah Blumenthal, Millie Tulloch, Emily Thomas and Sophia Sinclair, coached by Ali Hall and John Trovis. And also showing out with St Catherine's there, 2 lanes further across, Seymour College from South Australia, who I think were in that same Schoolgirls 8 heat. In fact, that's Annie McNally, Adelaide Salu, Imogen Johnson, Olivia Pisanello, Sasha Humble, Lucy Pocock, Kira Fogarty, Ava Charlesworth and Ella Edwardson, coached by Joe Franku. So here are clear-cut the top 2 in the context of a race where there is literally half a length from first to last. Probably Fun in the orange, the far side, and Seymour College lane 2 just off the pace, but there's nothing in it as they come through now at 220 metres to race.
It is the Seymour College and St Catherine's School in Melbourne, our 2 leading crews. But as Richard said, there is nothing to pick between the rest of them. We've got Walford Anglican in lane number 3. On 2 across from them, we've got Scotch College Adelaide also pushing through. It looks like Seymour College in lane number 4 are going to go through as one of the top crews. They are leading at the moment. St Catherine's School Victoria also sitting in those qualification positions. We've got who's going to finish third and fourth though. Walford Anglican sitting in third, and then the crew across from them, Scotch College Adelaide. Big push coming here from Loretto Ballarat in lane number 6 though. Are they able to road through over the final stages of this race? It is Seymour College in lane number 4. They're going to go through and qualify in first place. Second will go to St Catherine's School Victoria. Third will go to Walford Anglican, with fourth going through to Scotch College Adelaide. And then back a little bit further, we've got Loretto Ballarat just missing out, as do Seymour College in lane number 2 and the Farn School in lane number 1.
Oh, wow, that race changed complexion a couple of times in just the 2 or 1 3/4 minutes. In fact, it took them to get down the course there. 1:44.56 the time there. There's a few incorrect numbers up on screen if you're watching on the live stream, but definitely Seymour College the winners there, and St Catherine's of Melbourne were second. Third place, still think will go to Walford Anglican. There's one crew left off the timing system for now, so we'll try and confirm those placings shortly, but it was Seymour College, St Catherine's, and we believe Walford Anglican third, Scotch Adelaide in fourth, who got the final spot there in the yellow colours too, ahead of the yellow colours of Loretto College from Ballarat.
We head back down towards the start, and it is heat number 2 of the schoolgirls 8 sprints. So again, first 4 through to the final. So we'll just wait on those official results as they come through. We'll let you know. So in lane 1 in this heat number 2, we've got Pymble ladies who are in fact scratched. In lane 2, Loretto Normanhurst. Lane 3, Scotch Oakburn. Lane 4, Kinross Wallaroi. Lane 5, Scotch Oakburn. Lane 6, Geelong Grammar. And lane 7, Canberra Girls Grammar. So this Kinross crew, I believe it's their first 8. So they're going out for a bit of a sprint, a chance to practice their race starts perhaps.
So this is the crew that we saw on the water in that very intense second semi of the schoolgirls 8. There's St Catherine's-a-thon with a hint of Kinross Blue thrown in. What a race that was.
Is that a type of infusion? A type of fusion?
Yes, yeah, well, you know, there's all sorts of strange names for combinations of crews and races going around at the almost the end of a long week here, but yes, it was up there with the St Catherine's Perth race that I can still fondly recall from 2 years ago in any case. But you can see here the challenges for our umpires in lining these crews up, and the fact, of course, these we used to call them rolling starts, but that suggests the boats are moving, which of course they're not, so they're just non-held starts, but obviously no start pontoon at the 500 metre mark, because it'd be rather tricky for the other boats in the longer races to row through them. But you can see the next race there, next races in fact been lined up by our marshal, so the crews are put into their correct allocated lane and will row down in some sort of formation, and eventually will receive the attention of the aligner on the side of the course. We'll be in that little floating pontoon hut, which looks like a fairly nice place to spend a day on Lake Barrington, doesn't it? Line the crews up and ensure a fair start to the race.
Absolutely, and I was just thinking, I can just about guarantee that that's been used with someone with a fishing line at some point.
It looks like it's made for it, doesn't it?
But just getting ready, we do have 5 minutes in between the races, so the races themselves so far, generally 2 minutes or just under. And so there is that little bit of a gap in there. So still waiting. We've got the heat number 1 of the schoolgirls sprint. So it was Seymour College, St Catherine's, and then Walford Anglican and Scotch College Adelaide.
Exactly
so
as you called them, Stuart, when they crossed the line.
That is always a very happy moment when you've called it correctly.
So yes, a bit of a must just be waiting, I think, for one crew possibly to come up into line this race. Yes, not time to start for 5 more minutes. Great to hear from Jackie Swick earlier, member of the National Training Centre, about who started her rowing career in Perth and has obviously fairly rapidly risen to the highest ranks of the sport. But I think it is important for all the athletes here, especially those at school level, to hear the views of those who've gone through the same things before and been able to perform and succeed at the highest level, as she certainly has and continues to do.
Yeah, and it's been amazing to see the rise of the West, particularly in the women's sweep events. You know, we've got Bronwyn Cox, Jackie Swig, Annabelle McIntyre, all very much up there. We won't see Annabelle out there tomorrow in the Queen's Cup 8, but I still think that WA is only maybe a year or 2 off really challenging at the top.
Yeah, and look, I thought you didn't get time to ask Jackie about her interstate race coming up tomorrow, but she's been a member of the Queen's Cup crew for the past 4 years, and in fact in 2021 here at Lake Barrington rowed both the Youth 8 and then basically stayed in the boat and went around and rode the Queen's Cup as well. And a number of crews, at least two I can think of off the top of my head, are doing exactly the same tomorrow. Both Western Australia and South Australia, I believe, have some crew members, a substantial number of crew members doubling up between the Youth 8 and Interstate 8 race, which is certainly necessary, I suppose, when you're building your program from the bottom up. And we will be back very soon, just waiting for these 8s to move into place. So a few minutes until this next heat of the Schoolgirls Cox 8 Sprint gets underway.
My back faces the finish line. I pursue something I can't see. So we build a team and learn to trust the rower behind, in front. Together, we chase perfect, unbroken circles. In the water, with practiced hands, again and again and again, from catch to finish, handle to blade. And together, our vision is clear. When we're together, our circle is unbreakable. The path to greatness can't be rode alone. It must be as one.
And we are back on the start line here and about to go in the second heat of the Schoolgirls Cox 8 Sprint. As Stuart said, there was one crew scratch, so Pymble Ladies College, who would have been closest to this camera, which is why there's quite a gap across the course to the other 6 crews as they are here. So 6 crews, 4 will go through. Renault Normanhurst in lane 2, Scotch Oakburn of Launceston in 3. Kinross Walleroy again there in lane number 4 with that very, very good crew they've got. Scotch Oakburn with 2 crews in the race, so also racing in lane 5. Geelong Grammar School lane 6. That crew must be tired today. They've won the under-19 8. They rode the semis of the Schoolgirls 8 and qualified for the final. Now just a brief sprint heat to, well, possibly not end the afternoon if they're quick enough. And Canberra Girls Grammar School are over in lane 7.
They're busy, aren't they, Geelong Grammar? But look, if you're going to come down, make the most of the opportunities available and get all the racing in.
Yeah, and they don't think by hard, but a very strong program too at Geelong Grammar School. Great depth in numbers. They had some great head of the river results at Nagambie Lakes just a week ago. Last Saturday, as they're off and racing, Stuart.
Yeah, they are underway now. So Loretto Normanhurst, Scotch Oakburn, Kinross, Scotch Oakburn, Geelong Grammar and Canberra Girls Grammar. This Kinross Walleroy crew, Belle Clinton, Laura Chudley, Emily Wise, Rani Jarek, Lucy Reedy, Olivia Searle, Xantha Staniforth, Tessa Wong and Philippa Martin, coached by Andrew Gannon. There will be one of the favourites, and you can see there the triple bucket rig, which is proving to be controversial. They've got 3 sets where 2 consecutive rowers are rowing on the same side. It's not something you tend to see very often, but we're seeing it here with Kinross, and it's working for them. Yeah,
it's the thing. It's certainly not normal, I guess, especially in a school crew, but yes, for whatever reason, it's having the desired effect. So who are we to argue with the crew that's winning races?
Exactly right. You can just see there on the screen the crew from Geelong Grammar back down the course again as they come up towards the 250 metre mark. It is Kinross in the lead, unsurprisingly. Geelong Grammar sitting in second place. Then it's a boat length back to Scotch Oakburn in lane number 5, and then it's Scotch Oakburn lane number 3 in behind them, and then across to Loretto Normanhurst and Canberra Girls Grammar. So this one a little bit more open, and as we'd probably expect there, Richard, it's Kinross with the lead.
Yeah, so 4 crews will go through here with the 2 in lightish blue colours ahead of the field here, certainly Kinross Walleroy and Geelong Grammar School lanes 4 and 6 it is. So the race but for the next couple of qualifying spots still interesting. Scotch Oakburn with 2 chances. They could get 2 crews through, or could get none the way this is playing out. It could be really go either way here. Loretto Normanhurst and also Canberra Girls Grammar School in the mix. Probably just too far back, I'd think, to trouble the top 4 here. But the win will certainly go the way of Kinross Walleroy School in lane number 4. Almost a length, so a big margin to that crew in a sprint race here. Geelong Grammar School will take out second, and then there'll be 3 across the course for 3rd, 4th and 5th, which will narrowly go the way of the crews towards the middle of the course, I reckon, although there was a late surge also from Loretto Normanhurst. Scotch Oakburn certainly have one crew through, but we may have to call for the photo for the rest. It's confused our timing system again here, as these sprint races can do. It's either Loretto Normanhurst or Scotch Oakburn for the final spot, and Canberra Girls Grammar School will finish 6th. So Kinross Walleroy through, Geelong Grammar with them 4 seconds, if that's an accurate margin, is huge in a 500 metre race. And then at least one crew from Scotch Oakburn through.
Yeah, we'll wait and see on the final results of that one. So I think that'll change from what's up on the screen at the moment. So Kinross definitely with the win, Geelong Grammar in 2nd place, Scotch Oakburn in 3rd, and then who out of Loretto and Scotch Oakburn? It looked to me like Loretto might have just got over the line.
I think so.
But we'll wait for the final confirmation, because our success rate has not been great so far this go. The winning time there, 145.14, so very similar timing there to the 144.89 set by Seymour College. So we're in for a fantastic final.
Yes, that'll be great to see those boats line up again. They've only got about, in most cases, an hour and a quarter or so between heats and finals. So our heats go through to 4:45, and then the first of our finals at 4:50. So some of the events are straight finals, no heats required, but others, of course, having very big fields. So the schoolgirls 8, in fact, will come down the course, the final at 5:25. So they've got about an hour and a half. And the schoolgirls quad, we've already seen the heats of that final at 5:20, and followed, of course, by the schoolboys quad and the schoolboys 8, of which we are about to see the heats, as well as we go back to the start line for the next of them, being the first heat of 4. Once again, a big field in the schoolboys quad scull sprint.
Yeah, top 2 to go through to the final. So 4 heats. We've got Redlands in lane number 1, Kinross Walleroy in lane number 2, Bradford College lane 3, Trinity Lutheran lane 4, St Virgil's in lane 5, Cranbrook lane 6, St Patrick's College Ballarat in lane 7, and a second Redlands crew in lane 8. So Redlands bookending this one as they head up towards the start line. So crew in lane 1, Cooper McDonald, Christopher Ferros, Gus O'Sullivan, Kieran Newman and Kyra Benoliel. Lane 2 from Kinross, Harry Dimmick, Toby Buckland, Oscar Cleary, Oliver Smith, Henry Baker. Bradford College, Darren Wang, Owen Scowcroft, Darcy Barlow, ZUQ and Ben Scowcroft. Trinity Lutheran, we've got Zach Wood, Byron Cullen, Tilk Heron, Kai Leese and Charlie Voigt. Lane 5, St Virgil's, Thomas Code, Hamish Godfrey, Finn McManany and Oliver Woolley, and Cox by Oscar Code, as we just see them getting up towards the finish. And lane 5, Cranbrook, Sol Stathis, Toby Lane, Henry Dawson, Maxwell Scales, Thomas Lukes. Lane 7 from St Patrick's Ballarat, Joshua Elliott, Oliver Elliott, Patrick Stute, Lachlan Cameron and Blake Roberts. And our final Redlands crew, Jack Meek, Henry Dobson, Angus McInnes, Connor Morrison and Anushka Lee.
Just about set to go here, it looks like. Ahead of a still packed, beside a still packed boat park too, as we pan around here, the spectator area of the Lake Barrington course. Plenty of people here today, of course, being a Saturday as well. Great to see the crowds on the bank, and I'm sure packed around the big screen, as they have been for all the schools racing. It's been happening each afternoon of the last couple of days of this regatta.
Yeah, and well, this is the school sprint, so there's you can hear the noise. We can certainly hear it from here, up here at the commentary box, as everyone is screaming for their school's crews to come through, as we just wait the start of the heat number 1 of the schoolboys Coxed Quad Sculls. So
Packed
you can
into
see
the Royal Union marquee too. Stuart was just checking out down there. Once we've called these heats, we might need to stop by there for a refreshing beverage to end the day.
Well, look, you know, we need to make sure that the whistle is well and truly wet for tomorrow, as they are underway, and it is Redlands over in lane number 8 that have got away quickly. Lane number 2, Kinross Walleroy, also away quickly. There's a surprise. Lane 7, St Patrick's College Ballarat, also in there through these early stages, as are Cranbrook and then across to the crew from Trinity Lutheran College in lane number 4. But it's Redlands and Kinross through the early stages, and Kinross now just starting to pull away. They've got a canvas over this Redlands crew that are here in lane number 8, and then so they're our top 2 to go through at the moment. St Patrick's College Ballarat, who are looking to also make it through. They've got half a boat length back, and then also another half a boat length back to the crew from Trinity Lutheran on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, Trinity Lutheran went through in the school girls squad too, so they must have been training in the sprint format, I reckon, that school from the Gold Coast. They have got a sprint course, of course, at Coomera too, not too far away from the school on the coast, but it's still Kinross, and on this side, the far side of the course, the crew from Redlands. St Patrick's of Ballarat still thereabouts alongside them, but Kinross, Walleroy lane 2, so they're stretched out right across the course here, and a couple of lanes across, and it looks to be Trinity Lutheran still moving up quite well, so maybe 3 or 4 chances here for these 2 qualifying spots. St Patrick's of Ballarat about a half length behind Redlands on the far side of the course, but can Trinity Lutheran come through and pinch a spot from Redlands and Kinross, who've led this race since the opening strokes? And St Patrick's really moving in that green boat too as they come down the far side of the course. It looks as if it'll be Kinross Walleroy on this side who'll secure the win on lane number 2, and in bright sunlight on the far side of the course, it'll be Redlands going through just ahead of St Patrick's of Ballarat. 4th then will be the crew from Trinity Lutheran. 5th on this side, Redlands ahead of, was it Cranbrook, and then Radford College, and then St Virgil's as they all come home in within a few lengths of each other, of course, as you'd expect in these sprint races. But Kinross again, Stuart, and Redlands have got through in 2nd place.
Yeah, great win there for Kinross. I just want to point out that St Virgil's crew, they were a fair way back. The reason for that, they have no 2-seat in the boat, so they've rowed as a triple, I think you'd call that. And then they also had a crab at one point in the rough conditions. So a great row there from St Virgil's in lane number 5, rowing with just the 3 rowers. So fantastic effort from them too. And they kept pace really well with Radford College.
We've got a new event, the Cox 3. Fantastic stuff.
Cox 3, or is it a Cox triple? It would be a Cox triple because
scull.
It's a quadruple.
This is true,
so
yes.
it's a triple.
Yes, it'd be hard work in a sweetboard boat to have a 3, I suspect.
Hard work, but you know, if you had someone, if you had, say, Paddy Holtz on one side and you and I on the other, then I think that might work.
Then we'd still be going around in circles, I suspect. But anyway, you've never seen me roast you, unfortunately.
You've seen me roast.
I have indeed. I've had the pleasure of describing that on multiple occasions. But great stuff from St Virgil's. 1:41.98 was the time there. 1.74 seconds between 1st and 2nd, and 1.05 from 2nd to 3rd. And we can also confirm, as our next race is still moving up, that it was as we saw, but we're too scared to say. We thought Loretto Normanhurst may have snatched 4th place in the previous heat of the schoolgirls age. They have done that, so Loretto Normanhurst edge out the second crew from Scotch Oakburn by 0.03 of a second.
0.03
that's
between
3rd to 4th,
third
in
to
fact,
4th,
isn't it?
and
Yes.
0.28 back to the second Scotch Oakburn crew. So that's 0.31 between 3rd and 5th.
Votes. No wonder we thought it was close.
But we did call it.
It's
getting better.
Indeed. Give us a couple more weeks and we'll get everything right.
Getting ready for the second heat of the schoolboy Cox Quad Sculls. Again, top 2 through to the final. Lane 1, Radford College. Lane 2, Launceston Grammar. Scratching in lane 3, then we have Unley High in lane 4, Kinross in lane 5, Cranbrook lane 6, Pembroke in lane 7, and Gippsland Grammar in lane number 8 as our crews line up across the starts. And I think it'll just be that Kinross crew that'll need to just straighten out a little bit, because the last thing you want to do in a sprint regatta is go off at the wrong angle, and they are now underway. Gippsland Grammar with a strong start, as were the Pembroke School from South Australia. There are 2 leaders through the early stages, and then it's well and truly even Stevens across the rest of the field. Over on the far side, Radford College, the crew of Lincoln Uran, Joshua Miller, Charlie Knight, Hamish Whittier, and Moira Geraghty moving the boat quite nicely. They're sitting out in front at the moment, and then next to them, Launceston Grammar, Will Hill, Charlie Gavity, Henry Oliver, Jasper Brown, and Josie Johnson are now our 2 race leaders and potentially sitting in those qualification positions. Cranbrook back in 3rd place, and then it's Gippsland Grammar, the Pembroke School, and then Kinross and Unley High as they go through 250 metres.
Yeah, 3 boats on this side, pretty close together, or close to the camera side, at least they're on the far side of the course as we swing around now and look at them racing towards us. But the top 2 certainly are on the spectator side, the finish tower side here of Lake Barrington, the Radford and Launceston Grammar Cruiser. Gibson Grammar, but still a chance out there wide. Lagan Joshi, Connor Howard, Hagan Cook, Samuel Reynolds and Mia Del Buso, and 2 lanes across from them the crew from Cranbrook, Oscar Auden, Tate Leggett, James Campbell, Maximilian Alchin and Fergus Dawson Dammer, and also Kinross Walleroy uncharacteristically back in the field, but they're coming home pretty strongly now too and may get up at least a 4th or so spot. They've got to be top 2 here to go through. Radford and Launceston Grammar stroke for stroke on the finish tower side of the course. Gibson Grammar School just ahead of Cranbrook on the far side. Only 2 of these crews can go through as they charge towards the finish line here. And there's nothing between Launceston Grammar and Radford College, but they will be the 2 that qualify, and narrowly it'll be Radford in front. Radford first, Launceston Grammar second, 3rd goes to Gibson Grammar, 4th is Cranbrook, 5th I think was Kinross Walleroy just ahead of the Pembroke School, and 7th place to Unley High from South Australia. The only crew really out of contention there in a very tight finish. Have a look at those margins between crews, and a 1/3 of a second between our top 2 at Radford and Launceston Grammar School.
Yeah, fantastic win for Radford College. Launceston Grammar in second. They'll go through to the A final of the schoolboys Coxed Quad Sprints as we, and you can see, even though it's only over 500 metres, it's certainly taking it out of the rowers there as we have a look down towards that crew in lane number 4, the Unley High crew there. So
yeah, that is the challenge for them here too, with 2 races in pretty quick succession. They can't exert all their energy making the final because they've got to do this again in about 90 minutes, and these are young school athletes, so it probably isn't beyond them, but still it's getting towards the end of a long week for many of these crews, so they don't want to use any extra energy, but in a 2-boat to qualify race, you've really got no choice but to go for it.
You absolutely have to put the foot down, take the handbrake off and just let it rip. As we get ready for heat number 3 of the schoolboy Cox Quad Sculls. Again, top 2 through to the final. Hunter Valley Grammar in lane 1, Pembroke School lane 2, Cranbrook lane 3, Radford College lane 4, Ballarat Clarendon lane 5, Adelaide High in lane 6, St Virgil's College in lane 7 and Damascus College in lane number 8. So again, a lovely geographical spread of New South Wales. We've got Newcastle, Sydney, Adelaide, Ballarat, Canberra, and St Virgil's, who are
from Hobart School, St Virgil's College from here in Tasmania. I think they're listening to us too.
They might be. As soon as we said that, it was a very loud cheer.
So we got something right for a change. Maybe that's some positive feedback. Every state but Western Australia effectively in
and Queensland.
In Queensland. How did I miss
How
that?
could you
Yes,
forget
exactly.
Queensland?
Oh, they had some good races earlier today, the Queenslanders. Those school double sculls especially just dominated the qualifying spots. So yes, no Queensland crew here, but they will have plenty of chances over the course of this afternoon's racing as well.
Spicy race coming up in this one. There's some pretty handy crews in amongst it, and we see them get underway now. It is the 3rd heat of the schoolboys Cox Quad Sculls, and these crews, only the top 2 to go through, and it does look like St Virgil's, who had that early lead, the fast start off the line ahead of the Pembroke School in lane number 2. Cranbrook sitting in 3rd place, and then a couple across from them, we've got the crew from Ballarat Clarendon. We haven't seen one of the Ballarat crews go through yet in these sprint events, and they've got off to a nice little start there, but it is the Pembroke School and Cranbrook, and then closest to us, St Virgil's College from down in Hobart, our 1, 2 and 3. Hunter Valley Grammar not entirely out of the running at the moment, although they are already a boat length down to the Pembroke School. That's Alex Lee, Tom O'Mahony, William Harvey, Jeremy Yu and Beatrice Liu, and then next to them Cranbrook's Edward Hartwright, Edward Williams, Charles Mann, Luke Martin and Owen Moody. Not a lot to pick between them and St Virgil's though. No,
great race for second. Certainly Pembroke School of South Australia certainly got their boat comfortably, or as comfortable as you can, in the sprint race in front here. From then Cranbrook or St Virgil's. Hunter Valley Grammar not too far away as well here on the close side of the course. Ballarat Clarendon with a Year 10 crew racing through strongly as well. The orange hats there of Adelaide High, I think that's the Joe Malcolm coach crew, doing well at the same time. And then Damascus College, the dark green boat on the far side of the course, but only 2 can go through, and it looks to be Pembroke certainly on this side. Cranbrook, Hunter Valley Grammar either side of them, and St Virgil's, the locals across on the far side. Still a chance here, but Pembroke School certainly lane 2 are going to take out the win. And can St Virgil's hang on? Yes, they can. Oh, have they? I think so. I think so just. St Virgil's Cranbrook will finish 3rd. 4th will go to Hunter Valley Grammar School. 5th place will be the crew in red there from Ballarat Clarendon College, and Damascus College from Ballarat finish in 6th. 7th to the Adelaide High, or in fact Bradford College I think may have edged out Adelaide High for 7th and 8th. But was it St Virgil's, Stuart? We'll find out very soon. That was got very tight on the line.
It was that last-minute surge there from Cranbrook that just about had St Virgil's. So we'll keep an eye out on the official results. At the moment, it's got St Virgil's. It definitely wasn't 0.68.
I don't think it will stay at 0.68. No, about to say exactly that. So we'll have to wait.
But, geez, some tight finishes once again.
And our quickest race so far there, 1:35.95.
I just wonder whether or not the conditions, the head breeze is just easing off a little bit. It's not quite as grotty. I think it's now down to moody.
Moody, yes.
Moody headwind.
It is certainly that. And
if you've got some adjectives that you'd like to help
please
us
phone in on the number we don't have. Yes, no, let's not encourage that. The mind boggles, but
the ABC Sport text line, I think.
Let's give out their number and see if they can, pass on the best responses. But yeah, great racing here in the sprints, as is always the case. It is, as we keep saying, one of the highlights of this regatta. It's only been around for, I think, 8 or 9 years maybe now, since the sprint races began to eventually sort of fill in some time that used to exist when the Nationals, although it was a 7-day regatta, didn't actually use every minute of every day. Of course, that's not the case now. It's grown so much in recent years with the just the additional entries, especially in the school events. So it is now 7 very full days, but this is still now a very strong feature of the Nationals program, and loved by the schools. I certainly know of several schools who train specifically for 500-metre racing.
Yeah, and I mean, this year we've seen record number of entries at the Australian Rowing Championships, which is amazing given the logistical challenges of trying to get boats down here to Tasmania. They've been able to make it work, and we've known, for example, for people from northern New South Wales, from Queensland, the challenges of trying to get things down on the boats, the AAGPS changing, the GPS head of the river up in Brisbane changing. It's been a great turnout. And it's been fantastic walking around the boat park and hearing the atmosphere build up as we moved into the school racing. The crew boats, starting to see the trailers start to fill up at the top of the hill.
Yes, I noticed that on the drive out last night. There's a few more boats appearing each day, and yeah, I guess many now are beginning to plan for the return journey, as Lizzie Chapman mentioned earlier. Of course, a lot of people, including her, have to rush off to either the airport or the Spirit of Tasmania late on Sunday after we conclude racing here at I think 3:25 is the time for the King's Cup tomorrow. But for those who celebrate daylight saving time, at least if you're listening in Queensland, and I know some people who are, that's an hour earlier.
Yep, and so 2:25. Is it King's Cup or Queen's Cup to finish this year?
I believe on the last version I saw of the draw, it was the King's Cup, but I'm not sure if the rotation has happened from year to year or not, but that'll be confirmed when the draw comes out. In fact, the lane draw was taking place about now. Alice Evans of Rowing Australia and our, of course, officials there, each state represented to ensure the draw takes place, and we are
Underway in our 4th heat of the Schoolboy Cox Quad Scull. So lane 1, Canberra Grammar, lane 2, Gibson Grammar, lane 3, St Patrick's College, Tasmania. Looks like a scratching in lane 4, lane 5, Melbourne High, lane 6, Melbourne High, lane 7, Kinross Wallaroi, and lane 8, Kinross Wallaroi. So Grammar, St Patrick's College, Melbourne High, Kinross Wallaroi, and Kinross Wallaroi out in front in lane number 8. That's Tom Robson, Archie Condon, Nick Tancred, Lockie Soster, and Jane Bruce. And then they're ahead of the crew a couple across from them. That's Melbourne High, Xavier Brusaniti, Blake O'Brien, Yang Xiang Huang, Willie Moe, and Joe Lim sitting in 2nd. Canberra Grammar in 3rd, James Wilson, Xavier Moss, Harry English, Archer Doherty, and Teniola Balogun, their coxswain.
Yeah, back to the second crew from Melbourne High School as well. Lane 6, Daniel Ball, Louis Mullet, Yuvan Paramathan, Neil Shah and Benjamin Yee. But they're certainly in 4th place. Gippsland Grammar School will be next. Stuart Ray, Cohen Cook, Oscar Wilkins, Obi Vardy and Tristan Wakeham there. But again, it's just 2 crews to go through here with these huge field in the schoolboys quad scale sprint and really flying down the inside lane. That crew from Canberra Grammar School have got the rating right up and are going to try and secure a top 2 spot. But on the other side of the course, Kinross Walleroy and Melbourne High School just struggling a bit now. In fact, the Melbourne High crew have come unstuck, so it'll be Kinross on the far side, and I think Canberra Grammar School on this side will be the beneficiaries, although Melbourne High's second crew is making a late charge too. But Kinross Walleroy first, Canberra Grammar second. Very tight there between the two Melbourne High crews, but both will miss out in the end. I think it'll be lane 6 in third, just ahead of lane 5 in fourth. Kinross Walleroy's second crew has finished, we think, in 5th position, and then it was St Patrick's of you shortly the 4th and final heat there of the schoolboys Coxed quad scale.
It was a very tight finish there, and then Scott Oakburn, and then back a little bit further to St Patrick's College, Tasmania. And we'll just wait for that one to settle down a wee bit. But yeah, great row there from Geelong Grammar. And then those top 4 crews, or the second 3, I guess, St Peter's, Brighton Grammar and Launceston Grammar, just separated themselves a little bit from Scott's and Scotch Oakburn.
Yep, I still think there'll be some adjustment there. Those margins look far too big for a very, very tight finish there, especially from 2nd to 3rd to 4th. But they'll be the crews that do go through. Scott's and Scotch Oakburn, both in yellow colours on the far side of the course, were locked together. That still will need a photo to separate. The Friends School 7th and St Patrick's in 8th. Those placings are now confirmed, as well as the judges have a look at the photo and make sure they confirm the correct result of that race. But it does take just a minute or two after such a frenetic finish, especially as our camera is peering across a sun-drenched lake at the moment. Lots of sun here at Lake Barrington in the late afternoons. It starts to drop in the western sky. It does make visibility for that camera just a little bit more challenging, so it's important to ensure we get the correct results with 4 crews here to go through. But I think we know the 4 crews. We'll just wait on the order.
As we get ready for the start of the second heat of the Schoolboy Cox States, again, first 4 through to the final. Lane 1, Canberra Grammar. Lane 2, Adelaide High. Lane 3, Scotch College Adelaide. Lane 4, Unley High. Lane 5, St Augustine's College in Sydney. Lane 6, Brighton Grammar. And Lane 7, Christchurch Grammar from WA. But we do have a scratching in lane number 6 from Brighton Grammar. So just the, we've only got the 6 crews
to
in
go,
this
yeah,
one, so 2 to miss out. And we're just waiting for the Adelaide High crew just to, it looks like a couple of crews might just be in the wrong lane, so they're doing some switching and changing. The time in that first one, the provisional time was about 1:24. So we are seeing the conditions just ease up a little bit, and we've seen that throughout the regatta where the headwinds have been on for a little bit and then they tend to slow down. As we see here,
and just looking at that, I thought we had a line almost ready to go, and suddenly from above, you can see what our officials have to deal with here in trying to line up these 8s in a little bit of breeze, but they're all actually just backing down the course to get back in their lanes and move up again. But it looks interesting from above, doesn't it?
It was the Holden Precision Driving team.
It just about was. That sent the race in that combination. It would have been fantastic. Just looking ahead to our finals too, coming up in about 25 minutes time. For those watching on the live stream, we won't have time between races to show the presentations in full as we do for the rest of this regatta, but rest assured those presentations are taking place. If you're here at the venue and can tear yourself away from the Row Union marquee, you're certainly welcome to come down to the presentation area and watch the presentations. They will take place on the pontoon, and we do thank in advance our presenters if we don't get the time to recognise them all during the racing. But a lot of the State Association CEOs will be undertaking presentations, especially Melissa Ashton Garrard of New South Wales and Ed Manager of Rowing Australia as well. 8/8 across the course, and that was interesting. 6/8, I should say, but two of them were very keen to get away in this second heat of the Schoolboys Cox State Sprint. But regardless, we continue on here. Canberra Grammar School lane 1, Adelaide High in lane 2. Oh, that's the Joe Malcolm crew. I bet they were involved in those shenanigans. Scotch Adelaide in lane 3, Unley High in 4, St Augustine's in 5, a vacant lane 6, Christchurch Grammar from Perth in lane number 7.
I reckon it might have been the two non-Joe Malcolm schools, because we all know that Joe Malcolm would never get her crew to bounce off the line quickly, as we see them there, the crew from Adelaide High, and off next to them we've got Scotch College Adelaide, and it's South Australia, right across the middle of the course as they're coming up now to the 250 metre mark. It is Scotch College Adelaide with that lead. It's the battle of the yellow zooties, because it's Christchurch Grammar over on the far side of the course who are going to be the two to miss out. It's certainly St Augustine's right up there as well, and then back a little bit further. Canberra Grammar's probably sitting in that 4th place, and it's going to come down between Adelaide High and Unley High. Can either of them catch St Augustine's or Canberra Grammar School into the final stages? They may just struggle to do so. Out in front, it is the Scotch College Adelaide up against Christchurch Grammar for that lead. St Augustine's now really starting to push through, but I think it is going to be a win there for the crew from Scotch College Adelaide, crossing the line in 1st place, just ahead of Christchurch Grammar, and then back a little bit further, fairly even between St Augustine's and Canberra Grammar. There are 1, 2 and 3 and 4 to go through. Adelaide High finishing in 5th place, just outside of those qualification positions, and then Unley High back in 6th.
1:29 flat there for the 500 metres. It is at the moment 1.22 seconds between the crews, all clad in yellow there. Scotch Adelaide and Christchurch Grammar from Western Australia. They'll qualify St Augustine's and Canberra Grammar. Adelaide High there just outside the top few, it looks like, but there is a hand in the air in that crew, so we'll suggest you hold all tickets at this stage on that particular race. But Adelaide High and Unley High currently 5th and 6th position. So well done to all crews there, but Scotch Adelaide the race winners.
So wait and see there.
Yes, and well done to Jo Malcolm. I did see her just before the sprint regatta coaching at Adelaide High, doing a very good job building up a program there. And I still maintain, Stuart, she was your 2nd best ever podcast guest as well.
Only the 2nd best. So the best would have been, what, Murray Stewart or Anna Kirkwood?
Oh, look, it's a tough call. It's a tough call. I don't want to name names, but Jo was pretty good. And here we go. We say row union, and our drone follows. Have a look inside there. Actually emptied out slightly. I think they're busy watching the racing too, close to the bank there. But that is one of the best places to watch the races go past the row union marquee, and run by the hardworking people of the Sheffield Hotel throughout this week.
Well, that's fortuitous, because we're due to finish in 15 minutes.
It's very fortuitous. You think if we talk them up enough, they'll have some drinks waiting for us at a reserved table?
Well, look, that would be lovely. I mean, you don't know what we look like, but certainly know what we sound like.
Well, they know what I look like. I've been there a few times this week.
We're getting ready for the start of the Open Women's Quad Scull Heat. So 4 again through to the final. Lane 2, it's a Rockhampton Fitzroy Maroochy River Composite. Lane 3, North Esk Melbourne University Composite. Lane 4, Buckingham Rowing Club. Lane 5, Newcastle University. Lane 6, the Australian National University. And Lane 7, North Esk Rowing Club. So that ANU crew of Hannah Tippett, Alex Moylan, Alora Kelly and Catherine Kahn already with a silver medal in the Open Women's Quad.
Yeah, absolutely. And just noting there a scratching too from the Buckingham crew on lane 4, another crew who raced earlier today in the Club 4, I think it was. So
Verena Zilm potentially saving herself for the Victoria Cup.
Yes.
Tomorrow for rowing for Tasmania.
I must get confused. A South Australian rowing for Tasmania in the Victoria Cup.
It's you know, just sharing the states.
Well, I guess she's no longer a South Australian if she's rowing for Tasmania. So there you go. It's but great to see Verena Zilm back in the sport, and back in this case the Tasmanian green.
Says the two Queenslanders who are now living in completely different parts of the country.
Yes, I can be a Victorian or a Queenslander depending on who's asking. It's quite useful. It's like having 2 passports. Oh,
look, I live in Canberra, so it's down in Canberra. If I do something, so I'm just from Queensland. And if I'm up in Canberra, if I'm up in Queensland with the Canberra Rego and do something stupid, like, Canberran with behind the wheel.
Another one of those. Only can do roundabouts. There's the umpire. That's their the starter's boat, or at least one of the marshalling vessels. That's started with the button there to send the boats on their way. So you see the megaphone there mounted on the bow of that boat. So they're aligned from the side, but started from behind. So once the aligner is content that all crews are ready, the starter will give the instructions from that rowing Tasmania vessel, which is just sitting behind the boats at this stage. A field of 5 as it now stands in the Open Women's Quad Scull Sprint. Now with a field of 5 here.
One to miss out.
Only one will miss out, that's right. And 6 still in the previous, the next heat. So there's no danger of it being consolidated to a straight final, but they'll be our next 2 races. The Open Women's Quad Scull Sprint and then the Open Men's Quad Scull Sprint before our finals begin with the PR1 women's and men's singles at 4:50. So plenty of good racing coming up. Eric Horry on the course too, I see. The great Australian rower who's still did a very good time yesterday. Was it yesterday? The day before? I think it was over 2,000 metres.
PB, I think it was under 9 minutes. So
I recall, I was saying to Lizzie Chapman earlier, I recall Eric cracking 10 minutes at Cirque a few nationals ago, and that was the big mark. That was the sort of 4-minute mile time he had to get through, and now going under more than a minute faster, which is this testament to some very hard training over a number of years for Eric Horry in the PR1 men's single, and we'll see him on the course coming up.
yeah, he'll be up against Mitchell Bales from Torrens Rowing Club, and then also in that same race but different event, Sarah Ashley Tate, the Com Games, the Gold Coast Com Games para triathlete, who's now switched over to rowing, and she'll be rowing for Surfers Paradise Rowing Club as well. So great to see the PR1 entries. And again, cannot stress it enough that if you do have an impairment, you'd like to get into rowing, you look at it and go, geez, this looks like a lot of fun. And then make sure you contact your local club or state or territory association. They'll be able to give you information on para rowing, the different categories that there are, and the opportunities that are available. And goodness knows, it's a heck of a lot of fun. I thought that I'd never be able to do it, and somehow I have rowed at national championships and even rowed for the territory.
Yes, indeed. You've got the ACT Zudi, a couple of those in the collection, don't you?
Couple for in the Open, and I think a couple in the Masters. I think 3 in the Masters and 2 in the Open. So, and if not for some illness, would have been out there again tomorrow. So, I would have been lapped, but still would have been out there. But they're
in the event, which is yes, the most important thing. It is good to see some large fields in the interstate races tomorrow too. And as I think I was saying before one of the races commenced quickly, that the draw for the interstate races literally pick out a table tennis ball from a bucket to get the lane allocations for the Kings Cup and all of the interstate races. In fact, not just the Kings and Queens Cups, of course, but that draw was taking place a little while ago. So the draw, once complete, will be released to all for the last 10 races of the regatta coming up, which will be over by this time tomorrow. Incredible to believe that we're now, 564 races into this regatta. Still about 70 or so to go, but it's a slightly shorter day tomorrow with a bit more time between races, which gives us much more chance, of course, to talk about the races before and after they happen. Which may or may not be a good thing, depending who you're talking to.
Well, if you want to have a look at the preview, Rowing Down Under just has a new podcast out looking at the interstate, looking at the schoolboy, schoolgirl quads and eights. So that is available wherever you get your podcasts, Rowing Down Under. So make sure you get onto that as we get ready for the start of the Open Women's Quad Scull Sprints. It's the first 4 through to the final. We've got 5 crews in this event, with the scratching from Buckingham Rowing Club in lane number 4. So it's just the one crew to miss out, and they're all getting ready there. So in lane number 2, the Rockhampton Fitzroy Maroochy River Composite. Lane 3, North Esk Melbourne University. Lane 5, Newcastle University. In lane 6, ANU, and lane 7, North Esk. So a couple of Tasmanian crews in here. In fact, it's the one Tasmanian crew, and then the composite with 3/4 from North Esk, Layla Hucker from Melbourne University.
Layla Hucker herself actually a Tasmanian. She rode for North Esk in previous seasons and moved to Melbourne Uni this season, so I think she still counts as Tasmanian as well.
There we go. So we've got the 2 Tasmanian crews, one from the ACT, one from New South Wales, and one from Queensland. So that lovely geographic spread here as they're getting ready, lined up beautifully here on the start line.
I was going to say that. It's a fantastic line.
Just go. Send
it. So now the starter needs, there we go. The flag is up, so the line is ready, and the starter will very shortly send them on their way in the first heat of the Open Women's Quad Sculls Sprint. So 4 crews of 5 here to go through as they quickly get up to speed. Some nice high rating short stroke racing starts there from a couple of these crews, especially that Northwest Melbourne Uni crew over in lane number 3, the vacant lane alongside them, and ANU lane 6 also got away very brightly indeed from the crews either side of them. North-Esk in lane 7, Newcastle University racing in lane 5, and that composite crew from regional Queensland, Rockhampton, Fitzroy, and also Maroochy River. That's the crew on screen now with the 2 light blue, well, blue colours at least of the Rockhampton Fitzroy Rowing Club, and 2 members from Maroochy River as well. But the race lead does seem to be with ANU, Hannah Tippett, Alexandra Moylan, Alora Kelly, Catherine Kahn, coached by Nigel Harding, and then the crew, well, it was North-Esk Composite, but I reckon that coming through them now, it still is, yes, that crew of Layla Hucker, Madeline Hogarth, Noah Ravai, and Lily Barker from the North-Esk and Melbourne University clubs, and the top 2 as they come through.
Like, excuse me, it does look like it is crew in lane number 1, so that's the Rockhampton Fitzroy Maroochy River Composite, just off the pace a little bit. A big sprint here though will get them a little bit closer. It is the ANU crew with the lead. They've been sprinting up Sully's and now they're sprinting up Lake Barrington. It is the North-Esk Melbourne University Composite in lane number 3 that are sitting in second place, and then across from them we've got the North-Esk crew in lane number 7, and then Newcastle University in that final qualification position. A big push coming here from the Queensland crew though. Out in front, it is going to be a win for the girls from the Australian National University. They'll take the heat win ahead of the North-Esk Melbourne University Composite. Coming through in third place, it'll be North-Esk over in lane number 7. The pushes come from the Queenslanders though. They've rode through Newcastle University, and on the line it is going to be the regional Queenslanders, Rockhampton Fitzroy Maroochy River, finishing in 4th place just ahead of Newcastle University in 5th. They rode through them right at the very end, and they've gone through to the final in the Open Women's Quad Sculls.
Great finish from that composite crew indeed. Rockhampton Fitzroy and Maroochy River Rowing Clubs, who have snuck up into 4th spot. Katie Harris, Kelly McRae, Jamila Milu-Hines and Georgia Brennan, and they're listening to us too, because there was exuberance in that crew who mightn't have been certain where they finished there. It's currently 1.25 seconds. It might not be as much as that in the final analysis, but they will go through in 4th spot. So ANU first, North-Esk and Melbourne Uni in 2nd, North-Esk in 3rd, and Rockhampton Fitzroy Maroochy River in 4th. 1:44.26, the unofficial time there.
As we move back down to the start for heat number 2, and it's again first 4 through to the final. Lane 2, Toowong Rowing Club. Lane 3, Banks Rowing Club. Lane 4, Tasmania University. Lane 5, Swan River. Lane 6, Swan River. In fact, lane 5 is a scratching from Swan River, so again, just the one crew to miss out. And then lane 7 is Adelaide Rowing Club. So again, just the one crew to miss out. But as we saw there, you cannot ease up, particularly if you're in one of the side lanes.
No, I did it was sort of almost racing unsighted, that crew in lane number, or lane 2 they were, but closest to this side of the course. They had one crew next to them, then a vacant lane, so they wouldn't be fully aware where the other crews are racing were, but it's probably a good thing to not look and wait and see, but get on with the race as they're underway also in heat number 2 here. Toowong, Banks, Tasmania University, Swan River and Adelaide, the 5 crews here. The bright red there of the Tasmania University Boat Club racing in lane number 4. That's Olivia Yates, Olivia Walter, Jane Hilliard, Kate Oliver and Sean Finlayson, the coach of that crew. But they trail a little, I would think, from the crew on this side. Toowong, who probably got the best of the start in the yellow colours there. Hannah Johansson, Caitlin Douglas, Vivian Noonan, Gabrielle Geldard, coached by Alex Field, Jack Price and Hamish Cooney. And that is the Toowong crew, certainly pulling away from the Banks crew next to them. Tasmania University still thereabouts. And also on the far side, Adelaide Rowing Club, Celia Cowan, Victoria Seidel, Anna Collins, Alexis DeRogi, the crew there in the Adelaide colours, and Swan River still there, lane 6, probably in 4th place now, so some work to do for the Banks Rowing Club in the pink colours in the second half of this race.
Yeah, it is the Toowong crew leading out, and Adelaide Rowing Club as well. They're our 2 leaders. Tasmania University moving up there. Swan River quite close. So our top 4 crews now really not a lot to pick between them as they come into the final 100 metres or so. Banks Rowing Club just a little ways off the pace. It just looks like they're not quite getting the push through on each stroke that the other crews are getting. So it's really our top four is settled into the final stages. The order, though, that's not settled. We've got Toowong, we've got Tasmania University and Adelaide. Now only about 50 metres away or so from the finish. Adelaide on the far side, Tasmania University in the middle, and Toowong closest to us. Swan River just off the pace in fourth as they come up towards the finish line now. It is going to be a win for the locals in the heats. It's a win for Tasmania University just ahead of the Adelaide Rowing Club, and then Toowong finishing in third place. Swan River back in fourth, and then the Banks Rowing Club will cross the line in fifth place. So a close one, that one, and a winning time provisionally of 1 minute 46.02.
See a late substitution too in that crew that has actually come up as Banks Ballarat Clarendon. That's the fifth place crew, but there's been a late substitution into that boat, but they were not in second place. It was definitely Tasmania University, as Stuart called them, across the line. Adelaide Rowing Club, it looked like, just took second over Toowong, although that was very, very close for second and third. And Swan River will be fourth. They will go through Banks Ballarat Clarendon, the crew that will miss out, and it's 1:46.02 at this stage, the unofficial winning time, and no margin until we sort out who has finished second and who has finished third.
As we get ready for the start of the men's quad event. So again, first four through to the final. Lane 2, Mersey Rowing Club. Lane 3, Adelaide University. Lane 4, Fremantle. Lane 5, UTS Haberfield. Lane 6, Wendouree Ballarat. And Lane 7, the University of Queensland.
Who have just come up as a scratching on screen here as well. So no crew from UQBC, but a field of 5 remains. Tasmania, South Australia, Western Australia, New South Wales and Victoria. So 5 different states represented here as they get on their way. And a very good start in the middle of the course there by the Fremantle crew. Austin Vincent, Remy Payne, Oscar Laurie, Liam M. Davis, coached by David Vanders, and Alex Thompson. And going with them too in the early strokes, UTS Haberfield from Sydney, Liam Taylor, Harry Birchmore, Mitchell Caponis, Patrick Burke. They're coached by Tim McLaren. So they're in the top 2 spot, but 4 here will go through with just 2 heats in the open men's quad scull sprint on either side of the course. Behind our top 2 look to be Adelaide University, lane number 3, James Ratosa, Oliver Evanswood, Beecher Ross and George Griffith. And then in the red colours on the far side, Wendouree Ballarat, James Shaw, Josh Matheson, Angus Murfitt, William Gilbert, coached by Jamie McDonald, Paul Blanchfield and Sam Hutchison.
And as they're coming in now to the final 250 metres, it does look like the crew from Mersey Rowing Club just off the pace a little bit. They've got about a boat length to make up into the Red Boys. It is UTS with that lead ahead of Fremantle Rowing Club, and then in third place, Wendouree Ballarat, and then back to Adelaide University in fourth. But they've got some clear water between fourth and fifth, that Mersey crew in lane number 2. So it does look like our top 4 again is well and truly settled. UTS, though, a little bit more dominant than what we saw in the first heat. They've got themselves a boat length lead over Fremantle and Wendouree Ballarat, and then back to Adelaide University and then Mersey. So it's going to be a win for the black, white and teal ahead of Fremantle finishing in second. They're about half a canvas ahead of Wendouree Ballarat, who in turn a boat length ahead of Adelaide University in fourth, and then Mersey coming through in fifth.
So win there to UTS Haberfield, almost 2 seconds over Fremantle, so a pretty dominant margin in that race by the crew from UTS. And Wendouree Ballarat Banks, so again a late substitution there into that crew. They've come through in third place, still luckily all in the red, or the red and pink colours at least, of the Banks Rowing Club in the 3-seat of that boat. But they were third, fourth Adelaide University and fifth Mersey.
As we get ready for our final heats of the 2025 Sprint Regatta, and it is heat number 2, the Open Men's Quad Scull. So we've got a couple of scratchings in this one. So it looks as though we've got scratchings in lane 3 and 7, which means that this will be directly through. Everyone will go directly through. North Esk, Leichhardt, Army Rowing Node, India and North Esk. So
it'll depend, Stuart, on the time of notification of the scratchings, because if it was early enough that the crews have been advised, and they should now be because they're at the start line, there will be one crew likely still eliminated from this heat. So we'll have a 7-boat final, I suspect, but we will wait and see. That's for our officials to sort out as they are on their way. I can also tell you that in the previous race that it was in the end Toowong who got second ahead of Adelaide. So that result confirmed for race 565 as Tasuni from Toowong, Adelaide and then Swan River. But they're racing here in heat number 2. The last of our heats out here today with North Esk on their own now out in lane number 2. Leichhardt in 4. Army Rowing Node India, who've had such a good regatta with 4 gold medals so far, racing well in lane 5, and North Esk in lane number 6. That's a Leichhardt crew there in the centre of the course, so they may all be get to go through, but we'll find out as they make their way down.
And it's a very young Leichhardt crew. We've seen them rowing for their schools, particularly Peter Simkovich with that Newtown Higher Performing Arts that we saw in the schoolboy single scull. So that Leichhardt crew just off the pace a little bit out in front. Team Army Rowing Node India, they have flown down the course multiple times during the regatta in just about every crew they've put out. North Esk Rowing Club, Dion Birtwistle, Rowan Fenner, Matt Dickenberg and Jack Barrett. The Army Rowing Node, Kawinder Singh, Jaspinder Singh, Karamit Singh and Arvid Singh sitting in the lead at the moment. And then across to the second North Esk crew. So it's, if it is only 3 crews to go through, then it does look like North Esk, and the Army Rowing Node India, our 3 to go through. Leichhardt just a little ways off the pace, but as mentioned, they are a very young crew out there at the moment as we just see the Army Rowing Node India. They're going to win by a boat length ahead of the 2 North Esk crews. It's the North Esk crew in lane number 2, just ahead of the North Esk crew in lane number 6, and then Leichhardt coming through in 4th. The winning time there of 1 minute 31.41. That's a provisional time compared to 129.87 in the previous heats.
Yep, so another good win to Army Rowing Node India. As we said, they've had 4 gold medals already at this regatta. It's been great to watch them too on the presentation podium. They've had the Indian flag out and I think the Army flag as well, and really enjoying their time at this regatta. Plenty of support here too, and I'm told by those involved with the presentations, the politest crews you will ever meet. So great to have Army Rowing Node India here, and they'll be into the final. So a chance for another medal here in the Open Men's Quad Scull Sprint. So they have won that heat. And again, just to confirm, the usual rules of racing would be in this situation with the crew scratching. Again, it does depend a bit when they scratch, but we ended up in the end with 9 entrants in the men's quad sprint, which would always require 2 heats, and generally 1 heat of obviously 4, 1 of 5, and 1 crew would be eliminated from each of those, unless it was a late scratching that the crews could then affect the progression. So it's a complicated way of saying we don't know what's going to happen, but that would be my understanding generally.
We'll keep an eye out on those finals as we see our crews lining up for the start of the first of our finals. It's the 2 events in this one. So on the right-hand side, women's sprint single sculls, and then off to her left, so we've got Eric Horry from Sydney Rowing Club in the middle, and you can see there with the green and gold stripes on the blades, with a fantastic haircut as well. Very similar to
matching style?
Matching style to my good self, yes. It's all the rage.
Low maintenance.
Very low maintenance, except for the fact that you've got to shave it every 2 or 3 days or so before it gets get a bit of stubble. And then Mitchell Bales from the Torrens Rowing Club in lane number 5 in the red and white stripes of the Torrens Rowing Club. So they are underway. They're all taking off at the same time. And you can see there the experience of Eric Corrie through the early stages of this race, just how quickly he can get that boat to move. And remember, with the PR1, this is very much arms only. So you're not using your legs. You're not getting that drive through that we're all used to. He is just using that with his with the strength in his arms and his shoulders. So absolutely flying off the line there through the early stages ahead of Mitchell Bales from Torrens. And as we said, closest to the grandstand, Sarah Ashley Tate from Surfers Paradise Rowing Club will be the winner of the women's PR1 single scull. So Eric Horry absolutely flying. He's not letting that rate go down at all. He is one of the ultimate competitors that they have out there. You can see him, the rating for Eric Horry compared to what it is for Mitchell Bales is very, very different there. And Eric absolutely motoring through the early 250 metres.
Yeah, incredible actually to watch Eric Corrie, who I guess probably almost appreciated the change from 1,000 metre Paralympic rowing to 2,000 metre a few years ago as well. He's able to work his way into his races quite well and had good success over 2,000 metres, but really flying here down the 500 metre course. So I noticed yesterday, or the day before during his final row, the clearance he's getting on this scull, well, despite rowing arms only, is quite remarkable. The distance between the puddles that mark consecutive strokes. So fantastic to see from this extremely well-credentialed Mitchell Bales of Torrens.
Yeah, Mitchell Bales in second place from Torrens Rowing Club. It's his second national titles, and so we'll be looking to see him compete in future ones. You can see him up on the screen there. They've got the fixed seat, as you do for the PR1s, and also the outriggers, the pontoons on either side. So they've also got straps that will hold them down so as that there's no pushing off the line. As we just see now, Eric Horry coming up towards the finish line. He might just be easing off just a touch as he comes towards the finish, but he's still sitting at a fair old pace throughout the full 500 metres, and it is going to be another national title for Eric Horry from Sydney Rowing Club in the men's PR1s.
Well done, Eric Horry, who has that many medals from these regattas over the years. He must need a new addition to the house, I suspect, to store them all in. Not to mention, of course, all of his world medals too, for a world-class rower there from the Sydney Rowing Club, in this case rowing in the sky blue. And the Torrens stripe, Mitchell Bales will finish in second place. And then well done also to Sarah Ashley Tate, coached by Archer Southwood of the Surfers Paradise Rowing Club, who's still coming down the course here in the PR1 Women's Single Scull Sprint. So she will receive a gold medal for her efforts here as the winner of the PR1 Women's Single Scull Sprint. You can see the presentation area being prepared here down below us again for an unusual afternoon shift for the volunteers in presentations. A good effort here from Sarah Ashley Tate, and James Loveday, the head para-rowing coach for Rowing Australia, will be there to hand out the medals. Again, we do point out for those watching on the live streams that we won't be able to show you much of the presentations during the frenetic course of the sprint regatta over the next hour and a bit, but rest assured all of our winners in the case of these smaller fields in first, second and third, so gold, silver and bronze medals for all events with 4 or more entries. Sarah Ashley Tate rowing in a boat named the Carla, with you can see the outriggers there as she makes her way down, still in the, I think, the slightly red colours of the Griffith University Surfers Paradise Club, now known as Surfers Paradise, and she wins, Sarah Ashley Tate, the PR1 Women's Single Scull Sprint, coached by Archer Southwood, and she will receive a gold medal for her win in that event. So well done to Sarah Ashley Tate of Surfers Paradise, also Mitchell Bales of Torrens Rowing Club, and Eric Horry of Sydney Rowing Club, another gold medal.
He must have excess baggage when he goes home.
Absolutely, yes, he does. And we should ask Chris McCarthy, who's about to come in here and take over, but do sprint medals count towards the overall medal tally for the regatta? And if so, have Sydney Rowing Club just gained another one to add to their growing haul?
I believe that it does. You tend to see in the medal tally, it includes the interstate as well, so we'll see those come through. So, yeah, another one for Sydney Rowing Club after a dominant day today in the eights. I think it was 3 or 4 different eights gold medals. I've got it written down somewhere here a little bit earlier on, but they were absolutely dominant. Certainly winning the Open men's Cox States, I think both under 21s. Under 21s, yes. And I think one of the under 23s as well. I think so. It was the men's and women's under 21s, the women's under 23s, and the Open men's eights. But the women's under 21 one, should point out, was a composite along with Swan River Rowing Club. A distinction that Mr. McCarthy sometimes forgets to mention.
Blinded by the sky blue. Yeah, they've got 9.125 gold medals now, Sydney Rowing Club, so they lead the medal tally, 21 overall, so clearly ahead on that count, but only narrowly still on gold medals. UTS have 7 1/4, and the Adelaide Rowing Club 6 1/2. Melbourne Uni, after winning one of those 8 races, too, up to 5 1/4, ahead just of their great rivals Mercantile and Sydney Uni sit 6. And Army Rowing Note India, who we just saw in that previous heat, sit in 7th overall, 4 gold, 4 silver and 1 bronze medal. It's been well worth the trip here to Lake Barrington for the rowers from Army Rowing Note India, who seem to be certainly enjoying their time here too, as we do wait for the next of our finals to line up. It's not timed until 5 o'clock, in fact, the University Women's Quad Scull Sprint, so that will be the next race coming down the course. But Stuart, I think we're just about done for the day.
I think it might be time to get ready for tomorrow. There's a lot of big racing coming up tomorrow. The sprints, though, we'll hand it over to the youngsters.
Yes, indeed. It'll be the dynamic duo of, what is he now, the Hunter Valley Heartthrob.
The Hunter Valley Heartthrob, yes.
Indeed, and I don't know what we call Chris, but it would have to include the word Sydney Rowing Club in there somewhere. But regardless, they will be in shortly to call the last hour or so of the sprint finals. We hope you've enjoyed the day's coverage so far. Don't forget our first race too at 7:45 a.m. So our live stream will be on air at about 7:30 for the 7th and final day of this huge regatta. So enjoy the rest of your day 6 of the Australian Rowing Championships as Chris and Ben coming to take you through the sprint finals.
So we are underway back here, Chris McCarthy with Ben Homer here for the last session of Saturday, the finals of the sprint races. We start off with the university races, the University Women's Quadruple Scull Sprint. We've got Toowong on the near side of the course. University of New South Wales in the centre of the picture there, on the left-hand side of your picture, in the centre of the course. Sydney University on the far side of the course. Toowong's Matthews, Murphy, Wake and Geldard. They've all had fantastic regattas thus far. University of New South Wales all the way down here to compete in the club and the sprint events, giving it a good crack. And Sydney University, Stevenson, Turner, McCready and O'Brien, we've seen them do fantastically in the under-21 events, and Grace Turner will jump back in the boat for the club events tomorrow. And it is that Sydney University crew on the far side of the course in the Empacker shell that we're seeing on the screen there. Georgina Stevenson, Grace Turner, Alice McCready, the Novocastrian, to the delight of Ben Homer next to me. Alexandra O'Brien, coached by Alfie Young, and Alan Bennett, who have got the better of this field in the last 100 metres now. University of New South Wales trying to hold on for a silver medal here. Toowong on the near side of the course look to be fading in the closing strokes. The University of New South Wales, typically a fairly club-oriented program, and are going to claim a silver medal here in the Sprint Championships. Sydney University will take the gold in the University Women's Quadruple Scull Sprint. University of New South Wales for the silver. Toowong will claim the bronze medal, or won't be a medal in fact, in the University Women's Quad Scull Sprint. You can see how much it means to the University of New South Wales.
Well, what a year it's been for Alice McCready. She helped Newcastle end the Throsby gift drought, 10-year drought last year in November. And then she's moved to Sydney University, and there's a gold medal in the University Women's Quad Scull Sprint. And, well, that is a pretty nice win for Sydney Uni of New South Wales silver medalist. 1:44.35, the unofficial time. Uni of New South Wales 1.88 further back.
Yeah, so the university events, these athletes must all be students of the same university and provide some proof of enrolment at the time of entry. So we'll sometimes see some composite events, we'll sometimes see some club crews entered in this event, but they all are all bona fide students of a university. Which university Toowong Rowing Club's crew are from, I do not know, but I would assume Sydney Uni are all students of that institution, as are University of New South Wales. And we'll see the University men's quad scull sprint up shortly.
Well, just before we get to that, do you, you're moving to Newcastle soon, Chris. Do you know anything about the Throsby Gift Relay? It's one of the only relays of its kind in the country, actually.
I'm not. My partner is, but I will certainly be spending some time in Newcastle from the next couple of weeks. Please tell me about the Throsby Relays.
Well, I know we've got a race coming up, so
we've got a minute or two.
Maybe we can try and feed it in through. But basically, it's a mixed double, a coxed four, and then a mixed coxed four, and then a mixed quad. So basically, they go off. It's a 400-metre course. Mixed double goes first. When they finish, the four then starts. And the way that you notify the start line that they've finished is by flags dropping. Very innovative.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I might have to get involved.
Yeah, well, Newcastle won it for the first time in 10 years last year. So Jack Hanley came in and, geez, where Jack Hanley goes, success seems to follow. Speaking of Jack Hanley, there's Sydney University there in lane 4, his old club. Finley Mitchell, Caden Miller-Wright, Alexander Tetley, Will Gregory, coached by Simon Huxley and Peter Wern. The other crews, so in lane 2, Canberra Composite. In lane 3, Adelaide Uni Composite. Toowong in lane 5, Adelaide University in lane 6. So they're just tapping up to the start line. So that Canberra Composite in lane 2, James Robson from ANU, Max McAlpin from Sydney Rowing Club, Darcy James from Canberra, Jesse Rosen from Canberra, coached by Tom Westgarth and William Hatcher. Adelaide Uni in 3, Angus Hooper from Adelaide Uni, Arthur Drayton from Adelaide Uni, James Williams from Adelaide Uni, and Jonathan Mackay from Adelaide. I mentioned the Sydney Uni crew. Toowong is Ben Stockwell, Henry McCluskey, Mac Rogers and Joseph Petrie-Rapar, and they're coached by Alex Field, Jack Price and Hamish Cooney. And then Adelaide Uni in 6, Max Henry, Henry Southcott, Hamish Allen and Daniel Wersimer. And that is an interesting crew, that one from Adelaide Uni. That's could be sneaky on the outside.
Yeah, I think so. I think Canberra Composite as well. They've rode together as a quad. They were meant to be the under-21 quad to race today. Instead, James Robson was replaced by Jerry Anderson of Sydney Rowing Club. And they just missed out on a podium finish as they get aligned in the dying light here at Lake Barrington.
Well, it looks like a pretty good line here for the start of the University Men's Quadruple Scull Sprint. We will get a start eventually. So closest to the screen is the Canberra Sydney ANU Composite. You can see there in the yellow boat.
Certainly being held for a long time in some better conditions, but they're off, Ben.
Yeah, they are underway now. So all about the start when it comes down to these 500-metre races. And you can see, so across the course, Canberra Composite, Adelaide Composite, then in the middle at Sydney University, you'll be keeping a close eye on them. They look to have an outstanding start. Toowong next to them, and then Adelaide University over on the far side. But in the early stages, it is Sydney University, but there's also some movement coming from out wide. That Canberra Sydney ANU Composite crew that Chris McCarthy just mentioned, and Adelaide University, strong crew there on the outside. Toowong a little bit further back. So too is the crew that may have had a little issue there. The Adelaide Adelaide University crew there in lane 3. So they're just sitting a little bit further off the pace at the moment. Out in front, it's across the course. It's Sydney University, the Canberra Composite on the near side. Maybe that Canberra Composite maybe just edging in front. Adelaide University are moving well. So too are Toowong here through the last 200 metres. Sydney University, though, they're still at least in the top 3, but I'm thinking it's that Canberra Composite crew on this near side. ANU, Sydney Rowing Club, Canberra and Canberra in this boat. Sydney University sitting back maybe in 3rd now. Adelaide University in the silver medal position. Can Toowong sneak their way onto the podium here in this one? Toowong are finishing really strongly. Adelaide University coming down to the line with the Canberra Composite crew. It is Canberra Composite just in front of Adelaide University. Toowong are coming at Sydney University. It will be the Canberra Composite. Adelaide Uni silver, bronze to Sydney University. Great race that in the University men's quad scull sprint.
Welcome to sprint racing, Ben Homer. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic last, 45 minutes or so. I mean, it's saying 2 seconds, but I think less than a second really between those leading 3 crews, and more big crowds at the big screen, and hopefully big crowds watching on at home.
Yeah, we love the sprints. It is so exciting to watch. We saw the 250-metre eliminator at the head of the river at the school boy and schoolgirl events. What was that, a couple of weekends ago?
Yeah. On the Saturday and the Sunday. That was 8 250-metre races back-to-back with last place knocked out every single time. A whole lot of fun. Great fun to be presenting that event.
I thought you were going to say a whole lot of lactic acid.
Oh, there was a whole lot of lactic acid. Tell you what, though, the girls, not much complaint about any lactic acid. The guys, oh, God, bit of carry on.
No, great event. Absolutely great event. Toowong just missing out in that one, that University men's. So just seeing if we're getting, I don't think we got the official times in front of us, but the top 3 in the medals for the University men's quadruple scull sprint. So next up, we don't have the University women's Coxed 8. That one has been eliminated from the program. So we've got the University men's Coxed 8 sprint, and we've got Melbourne University Composite in lane 3, Sydney University in 4, UTS Haberfield in lane 5. I'm just having a look at these crews. Looks pretty strong across the board. Who are you liking, Chris?
Well, I like UTS for this one. It's very, very similar to their Club 8 that they'll row tomorrow, but obviously all UTS students in this event. And I mean, Sydney University will be strong too. Most of those boys, in fact, almost all those boys, had a great row for a bronze medal in the under 21-8 today, ahead of a lot of these UTS Haberfield boys. So a chance for redemption. The Melbourne University crew in lane 3. Big strong names too. Josh Feathercrans on the strings. He'll be coxing the Victorian Youth 8 tomorrow afternoon at the Interstate Regatta. And they're off. We are off and racing in the University Men's 8 Sprint. And I think the crew on the near side of the course from Melbourne Uni have gotten a good first few strokes there, but as we ride on board, fantastic pictures that's making this all too easy to call. Sometimes the sprint races very, very difficult as a commentator indeed. I think Sydney University getting out to a slight lead after the first 10 strokes here. The UTS Haberfield crew on the right-hand side of the course now starting to build into a little bit of rhythm. 500 metres, you think it's short, you think it's fast and furious, but you do need to build a little bit of mid-race rhythm. It's about the minute mark you'll transfer to the aerobic system. You'll actually need a little bit of fitness on board to race over 500 metres, and it is UTS who have gained about a canvas lead here in the opening stages of this race. The Sydney Uni crew, Bryn Potter, Seb Adderton, Jeffrey Warren, Alfred McLean, Angus Mitchell, Gus Sazolka, Jack Cullen, Will Rogers, who I know his parents are sitting in the Row Union Bar at the moment watching on with keen interest. Chloe Doretta, the coxswain, Simon Huxley and Peter Warren, the coach. Can they come back on this fast-starting University of Technology Sydney crew on the right-hand side of your picture? I think it will be UTS. Sydney Uni launching a response in the closing stages of this race, but it'll be too little too late as the UTS Haberfield on the fast sides of the course, the white, black and teal stripes take a win in the University Men's Coxed 8 Sprint. Sydney Uni for silver and Melbourne Uni for the bronze. So it was in lane order at the end. And UTS, you can see the man in the 6th seat there, which according to the program, Mitch Kaponis. It is Mitch Kaponis, UTS Jesus himself, lifting the hands high in celebration for a gold medal in the sprint.
So just confirming those unofficial times, UTS in 1:24.75, the gold medal. Sydney University, 1.09 further back, the silver, and there'll be no bronze for the Melbourne University composite in the Uni Men's Coxed 8 sprint.
Yeah, so just to fill everyone in on how the medals and everything work in this regatta, we have fairly informal medal presentations. It does count towards the medal tally, although I think the university events don't count towards the medal tally, but the sprint regatta as a whole does not count towards the club point score awarded at the lunch break tomorrow.
Who's winning the club point score, do you reckon?
Wouldn't know.
Would you have a guess?
I'd have a guess.
Would it start with an S maybe?
Yeah, I think it might be Sydney Rowing Club after winning a whole bunch of 8s races today. The under 21 8, under 23, under 21 men's and women's 8s.
So every race is worth the same amount of points?
No, so it's more for an 8 than a 4 and more for a pair than a single. And then you get points for first, second and third. So you look at the medal tally, and sometimes you might have someone with more gold medals, but someone you're right up there in the point score. So an interesting one for sure. I don't think we award the trophy. I can't quite remember the name of the trophy, but it's about 100-year-old ore. The trophy for the club point score, and it's a bit fragile.
You got to be careful with it.
You got to be careful with it. I haven't seen it in a number of years. I don't think it's quite up to the task of making the journey to the national championships anymore.
I was thinking the celebration with that might do some damage, so
yeah,
probably best if it's kept under.
The last time I saw it, it was the Sydney president, Keith Jamieson, holding it aloft above his head at Sydney International Regatta Centre in 2018, which became an iconic photograph indeed.
So we're just moving towards the start here of the PR3 Women's Single Scull Sprint, and it's Lisa Greisel from Lake Macquarie Rowing Club, medalist in the long form event. Bronte Marshall from Community in lane 4. Isabel Egan from Radford College in lane 5. Rebecca Markwell from Bundaberg in lane 6. So you can see in that light blue boat, Rebecca Markwell just tapping up to the start line from Bundaberg, coached by Alan Goff. Now getting a look at the rest of the field. So Lake Macquarie's Lisa Greisel there, furthest to the left of screen. Bronte Marshall from Community Rowing Club. And the ACT's Isabel Egan. And we are underway in the PR3 Women's Single Scull Sprint. And a really good start there from Isabel Egan. Out in lane 5. Took out the PR3 Women's Single Scull in 8.15 from Lutz, and Greisel winning the bronze medal in that event. Bronte Marshall finishing 4th. Rebecca Markwell in 5th place. Lutz not in this sprint event. So you would suspect Egan, the favourite coming into this one, and she is certainly making that count early doors in this sprint. Lisa Greisel currently in the silver medal position, just ahead of Bronte Marshall from Community Rowing Club. It's about a 30-second gap between those two, Greisel and Marshall, in the 2K event. And Markwell a little bit further back as they near the halfway point. Isabel Egan from Radford College, coached by Maximilian Meyer, Oscar Willink and Gordon Marks. It's a very strong advantage in this sprint event. Greisel in the silver medal position, but not too far away is Bronte Marshall from Community Rowing Club. So Lisa Greisel there on screen in the green colours of Lake Macquarie. Bit of blue and yellow in there as well from the Hunter region. But it is Isabel Egan looking to complete the double. Bronte Marshall in lane 4 from Community Rowing Club, coached by Barbara Ram, Jem Liam James and Robin Smith. She's in the bronze medal position. And then further back is Rebecca Markwell from Bundaberg Rowing Club.
Very successful here on the waters of Lake Barrington. Bronte Marshall took a silver in the Interstate PR3 single last time we were here, back in 2021.
And looking to add another medal to the collection for Bronte Marshall, but it's going to be Isabel Egan who's going to complete the double after winning the PR3 women's single scull over 2K. She takes out the sprint as well for Radford College. The silver medal to Lake Macquarie's Lisa Greisel, and then Bronte Marshall with a bronze medal from Community Rowing Club out of New South Wales. And then Rebecca Markwell from Bundaberg Rowing Club, just a few strokes away now from the line, crossing in 4th place. So the gold unofficially to Egan, 207.60. Greisel, 6.49 further back. And then Bronte Marshall, 7.93 further back in the bronze medal position. There's Rebecca Markwell, who finished in 4th place from Bundaberg.
Yeah, great row from Isabel Egan to back up her win in the long form event of this earlier in the week. Lisa Greisel second as she prepares for the interstate single tomorrow afternoon.
ACT will be feeling good about that, won't they?
New South Wales.
Stuart John.
Oh,
no, I'm
ACT.
saying Isabel Egan.
Not racing.
Not racing.
I think she's actually on a flight out of here tonight, Isabel Egan.
Jeez, what a blow that is.
Yeah.
Stuart John will be, I know he's a Queenslander technically, but lives in the ACT, so he's got a foot in both camps.
If you have a listen to the Rowing Down Under podcast, he does go into detail about the ACT's chances in a number of different events in the interstate and the schools regattas tomorrow.
Well, I'm trying to think, Caleb Antill, did he win it a couple of years ago?
Caleb Antill won it a couple of years ago.
And was that in Perth?
They've won the... No, Caleb Antill hasn't won it. So ACT never won the
maybe he won the single that year, but didn't win the interstate race. That'd be right when he was at ANU.
Had the lanes gone a different way in Perth?
Ooh,
For me...
Perth, it brings back memories, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Caleb could have won it. Brings back bad memories for you, doesn't it? You could have made the final and didn't.
Yeah, point 2. Al Isherwood and I forget who he was rowing with, but we were quite inexperienced then. Al Isherwood's probably around, isn't he?
Probably.
He's probably listening in. Go and check him out. Perfect balance rowing.
You clearly made up then. You're not holding any grudges.
No, Al's a good bloke.
Schoolgirl quad then. Kinross in lane 1. Kinross with 2 crews in this boat. Kinross in lane 1, Radford lane 2, Trinity Lutheran 3, Brisbane Girls Grammar in 4. Kinross with another crew in lane 5, Gibson Grammar in 6, Askham in lane 7. Their first Nationals A final appearance in a crew boat in about 15 years, I believe. And they'll be enjoying the way that this start line's looking at the moment.
Well, what is going on here?
They're well in front of the line and nowhere near lined up. So
they're going to have to back this up, surely, will they? What? They're not going to start a sprint it's almost a 400-metre sprint.
Yeah, I think they've cut a good at least 50 metres out of it. But
yeah, they're backing it up.
Yeah, if it starts as it is, Brisbane Girls Grammar will be very happy, as will Unley High. And I think they'll move it back down.
There are some tough jobs at this regatta, but this trying to line up the 500-metre sprint. And while the wind is has eased off a little bit this afternoon.
Oh, certainly a lot better than it was when we started the sprint regatta, isn't it?
Yeah. It's still very challenging to try and line up these boats.
Yeah.
So they're all backing it down. All right, so who are you looking for here?
Well, look, my heart's with the Askham girls over in lane 7. I did coach these girls last year. Kitty Elias, Izzy Bug, Chloe Hitchens, Sabrina Koskar, Pepper Grenfell, the Cox. I didn't coach Pepper last year. She's come up from Canberra. And this year, I'd love to see them with a medal. It'd be spectacular.
Kinross going to be strong, aren't they?
Kinross going to be strong.
2 boats in it.
This is pretty much their second 8 spread across 2 quads. So with the omission of Jemima Scammell in the lane 5 crew, who's pulled out, just focusing on tomorrow. She's racing in the Schoolgirl 4 tomorrow. And I know she's watching on the bank with her parents in the Row Union Bar.
Well, that looks to be a better line at this point. They still are probably just in front of the 500. Well, they're pretty well lined up here.
Yeah, just in front's all right, but as long as they're reasonably fair together, you can see the Kinross crew there just backing it down. They would have just been given an order from the aligner sitting in the floating timing hut. And I think with that just ever so slight headwind we've got here, they are going to drift just back past the 500-metre mark and start a pretty fair and even race as they're all at attention and ready. And I think we'll have a start very shortly. They need some of the crews on the far side of the course to just move it up. Lanes 1, 2, 3, and 4. Excellent line. Starters can be very proud of that. Just a little bit of tapping up there. There's certainly some tactics with the shortened start, isn't there, Ben?
Well, you don't want to go. Do you want to go to the dark arts? Or?
Look, my opinion of it is, if you are coming into a fair fight, you haven't prepared well enough, have you?
Yeah, well, there's some boats that angled across the course.
It doesn't really look like it, but there is a touch of a crosswind. So these crews will have to do a little bit of steering here.
Yeah.
Lucky they've got the Cox, otherwise we'd be up for some absolute carnage. I do remember last year the Open Women's Quads in these sprint regattas. And they're off. They're off, regardless of steering.
Ooh,
See the Kinross crews well out of their lane in the centre there. There might almost be a collision. It's a good thing they've got the Coxes. There might still be a collision between Kinross on the near side there and Radford College in lanes 1 and 2. Kinross, a shipwreck. That's them out of the race here. But the Kinross crew in lane 5, they've done well. They started ajar at almost a 45-degree angle, and they've stolen a march on the field in the opening strokes. But the crew in lane 3 from Trinity Lutheran in Queensland, who did very well at the sprint regatta last year indeed, currently challenging for second, as are Gippsland Grammar in station 6. Askham in lane 7 doing well as well. But Unley High over in lane 8 have moved out in the second 250 metres of this course, or they're coming through the 250 metre mark now. Is Unley High, Kinross, Gippsland Grammar and Trinity Lutheran on the near side of the course. The second Kinross crew is out of it, as are Radford and Brisbane Girls Grammar. I don't think they'll be able to claw back that lead in this second half of the race. Everyone else is still up for a chance at a national championship gold medal here in the sprint race. It is Kinross in the centre of the field who look to be in the best position, but Gippsland Grammar going with them. Canfield, Dahoud, Tavaski, Harrison and Lucy Hodges, the Cox, who certainly have designs on a sprint gold medal here. The Kinross crew that we could see on the course there of Lulf, Lego, Kirby, Wilkin and Emily Carrow, the Cox, are currently sitting in second place. The crew on the far side from Unley High, the South Australians, Eleanor Nettlefold, Felicity Cox, Charlotte Sanks, Georgie Twelftree and Harriet Williams, the Cox. They're currently looking very well placed for a Nationals gold indeed. But Gippsland Grammar there in station 6 are striding home to a win here in the Schoolgirl Cox Quad Scull Sprint. It'll be Gippsland Grammar from Unley High for second. Bronze could go the way of Kinross, but it could be Trinity Lutheran. We'll wait for the photo finish. I think it was Kinross there. Trinity Lutheran, Askham in 5th, Brisbane Girls Grammar, Radford and the second Kinross crew in 8th place. What a fantastic Schoolgirl Cox Quad Scull Sprint, Ben.
Oh, what a cracking race. There was drama. There were crews going out of their lane. It was at absolutely everything. Gippsland Grammar, Unley High, Kinross Wallaroi on the podium in this one. But what a fascinating race that was. And I really feel for the Kinross Wallaroi crew in 8th, because they did a lot of hard work. They were trying to claw back. In the end, they couldn't do so in the end, and time for Gippsland Grammar 144.29 in the gold medal position.
Yeah, we'll wait for the confirmation of results, but I think it was as we called it there.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in those top 3 as you. Through the food. So the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 sprint is about to come down the course. Lane 1, Scotch College Adelaide. In lane 2, Scotch Oakburn from Tasmania. St Catherine's School Victoria in 3. Kinross Wallaroi from Orange in lane 4. Seymour College, the South Australians, in lane 5. Geelong Grammar in lane 6. Walford Anglican from South Australia in 7. Loretto Normanhurst from New South Wales in lane 8. So we have a stacked field here, all 8 in the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 sprint.
Yeah, wide variety of states present as well. South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales, just missing some Queenslanders and some West Australians in this one. But, keep an eye out for Kinross there. It's the head of the river winning 8. But, I thought favourites going into this regatta with the triple bucket rig. Loretto Normanhurst on the far side of the course. They will have touched Grace of Catherine School in Victoria, who we predicted all week to be doing battle with this Kinross crew, and they are here in the final of the 500-metre sprint. Seymour College from South Australia getting away well as well. The crew next to them from Geelong Grammar, it is in fact all the crews from stations 3 through 8 who have gotten away extremely well. Only Scotch Adelaide and Scotch Oakburn have been left behind off the start. I think the crew third from the far side of the course from Geelong Grammar have gotten away the best as Kinross start to hit their rhythm in the middle stages of this race. St Catherine's School of Victoria on the middle stages of this race are here on the screen now, just trailing. They look like they're going to miss out in the medal here in the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 sprint. Kinross Wallaroi, a great view of that triple bucket rig from the Andrew Gannon coach crew in the centre of the course there as they lead here in the 500-metre sprint as they hope that they will in the Sydney Cup tomorrow, but some work to do before then. They're leading well from the crew next to them from Seymour College in South Australia, who in turn are being trailed by hardly a foot from Geelong Grammar from Victoria. It is still anyone's guess who's going to have the minor medals here, but I think Kinross Wallaroi, that blue boat in the centre of the course, are going to take the gold medal here in the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 sprint. I've called that rather early in the 500-metre race, but I think that's how it's going to be. It's very close for the silver indeed. It is going to be Kinross for the gold. Seymour running strong in second. It'll be Kinross from Seymour close for the bronze, but Geelong Grammar for the bronze medal in front of St Catherine's in Victoria. Kinross, Seymour, Geelong Grammar. St Catherine's Victoria, Wild Seymour running strong in second. It'll be Kinross from Seymour close for the bronze, but Geelong Grammar for the bronze medal in front of St Catherine's in Victoria. Kinross, Seymour, Geelong Grammar. St Catherine's Victoria, Walford Anglican, Scotch Adelaide and Loretto Normanhurst in 7th. Scotch Oakburn, the locals in 8th place.
So Kinross 133.31, the gold medal in the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 sprint. Seymour College from South Australia, the silver. Geelong Grammar from Victoria in the bronze medal position. So 3 states represented in the top 3 there. And wow, that was an almighty race. We had about 5 boats there coming down to the finish line together. And that's exactly why we love sprint racing.
That's why we love the schoolgirl racing at the moment. I mean, if you looked at the semi-finals of the Sydney Cup earlier this afternoon, there's no way that's the top three you'd be predicting. And a fantastic result there for a couple of the crews, for Kinross, for Seymour.
Well, what a day. What a day awaits tomorrow.
Geelong Grammar have been looking great throughout this regatta. I think they've just gotten better and better as the week has progressed.
So Schoolboys Cox Quad Skull Sprint underway. Redlands in lane 1, Cranbrook 2, Kinross Wallaroi in 3, Pembroke School in 4, Kinross Wallaroi in 5, Radford College 6, Canberra Grammar in lane 7. And as you would expect, Kinross Wallaroi in the middle of the course getting away very, very nicely. They're sitting there in lane 3 and also in lane 5. You will not miss those blue boats, but in the middle of them, sandwich in between, is Pembroke School out of South Australia, and they have taken the lead here. It was Kinross Wallaroi over in lane 5 who did lead for the early stages, but as they come up to the 250 metre mark, it is the South Australians who have taken the lead. But have a look at the far side of the course. Look at the ACT crew from Canberra Grammar. I think they may have moved up into the bronze medal position. So right now it's Pembroke School from Kinross Wallaroi. That is the South Australians. Pembroke School in the gold medal position at the moment, but Kinross Wallaroi are challenging them. So too are Canberra Grammar on the far side of the course. It's the Kinross crew in lane 5 who are coming at Pembroke School. So too Canberra Grammar on the far side. Kinross's lane 3 crew are also firing on all cylinders. And Cranbrook and Redlands out of it at this point. It is Pembroke School versus Kinross Wallaroi. It is a drag race all the way down to the line. There's about 50 metres to go. It is anyone's guess who's going to win this. Stroke for stroke, it's the South Australians just from Kinross Wallaroi, silver and bronze for the country kids, but South Australians, you must be so proud of that race from Pembroke School. That was outstanding in the Schoolboys Cox Quad.
Yeah, fantastic row. That Kinross crew, their top quad, 3/4 of them, the defending national champions in, I think, this event, as well as the main 2,000 metre event. See them on the screen there. Doesn't look to have taken too much wind out of their sails for tomorrow's racing. And up next, the Schoolboy Cox State Sprint. St Peter's on the far side of the course there. Canberra Grammar in 2. Oh, sorry, on the near side of the course there. St Peter's the blue and white. Canberra Grammar also in that yellow Empacker shell. Brighton in lane 3. And I thought it scratched from this, but still here. It's the crew that took a bronze medal in the under-19 8 this morning. Scotch Adelaide in 4, Geelong Grammar in 5, Christchurch all the way from West Australia in 6, Launceston, the local heroes in 7, and St Augustine's all the way from the northern beaches of New South Wales in lane 8. Seeing there Canberra Grammar and St Peters, 2 crews I'd expect a challenge for the win here in this race. I'm not sure what happened there. I think I think the starters accidentally pushed the button there. I heard a little beep. A couple of crews went for half a stroke. A couple of crews threw their hands up.
Was it?
Yeah, a couple of crews threw their hands up in protest. And I think there was no call to attention or anything there. So the crew's just backing it down now. And we'll get underway very, very shortly.
Well, it accidentally happens. Sometimes, you know, you're driving along or something, you elbow bump something. It happens every now and then. I used to work with a bloke at the radio station who every now and then, you know, you might bump the promo button in the middle of an interview or something like that.
Sounds like you might have been getting a little backhanded deal, actually. Was that Richard Dorstein? Was the promo for the little red coffee van?
Well, I can say, I don't know, what cafe did I go to today? I got a Caesar wrap, and I tell you, it was fantastic.
You're the second person in the last 2 hours to tell me how good the Caesar wraps are.
The Caesar wrap is
at the canteen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And only $8 or something?
Yeah, $8. $8.15 with the surcharge.
Oh, the surcharge. Oh, don't get me started on the surcharges.
Is that an election promise? Let's reverse. We're backing out of that one.
I think the best thing about the sprints is that the commentators are generally pretty occupied with the racing and don't have to waffle on the nonsense that we normally do at this time of the afternoon's racing. But
no. I know. Unfortunately, you're left with us, and we've had some delayed starts. Yeah, they are a little bit up past the start line.
So we're pretty close.
They're being told to back it again. Well, while we have got time to waffle on, who are you liking here?
I think I kind of like St Peters and Canberra Grammar for this. St Peters got away well at the South Australian head of the river.
What about St Augustine's on the far side?
I think St Augustine's, well, very experienced crew in this one. Ryder Taylor's a world champion, the coxswain, one of the youngest world champions ever. And Amos Noon, Judith Ungamark, the coaching team there. I think there'll be a bit of gusto in that St Augustine's crew. Challenge could come from anywhere here. With Geelong Grammar, they had a great row in the schoolgirl 8 earlier, and generally had a pretty good week here at Lake Barrington. So I think we just saw then the challenges in the sprint race can come from anywhere. We had some pretty blustery conditions for the heats, so I wouldn't take the lane seating as gospel here.
No, it really doesn't matter where you are on the course, to be fair. If you've saved a bit of extra juice from the heat.
St Peters there just totally gone straight past the start.
Well,
that's a little bit cheeky there.
You were saying, all right, you know, you need to have a little bit of gamesmanship here, but you've got to be sneaky about it. You can't just
that was a bit blatant, especially when you're in lane 1. It's going to be a bit obvious, but I think they're going to get away with it. Canberra Grammar a little bit behind the 8 ball. I think they're going to have to go. We've got a tailwind now, and they are off. Canberra Grammar big digger on the first stroke there for Canberra Grammar. Brighton have gotten away well there in station 3. As have St Peters. Canberra Grammar recovering well. Fast and furious off the start there. Great pictures from the drone. But Brighton Grammar, the Tonners in lane 3 in the red, have gotten away well. As have Scotch College Adelaide, who are going with them. St Peters trailing a little bit in the early strokes. Geelong Grammar there in the centre of the course. The Cambridge Blue crew getting out to a seat or two of lead here in the early stages of the race. Christchurch from Western Australia on the far side of the course are going with them. The crew in Launceston Grammar, the locals over on the far side of the course going with them. They're currently best placed for a silver, but St Peters on the near side starting to come home with a wet sail now in the closing few hundred metres. It is still Geelong Grammar. They've gotten away well and they've held it. They're only extending that lead in the closing stages stages of the race. I'd say St Peters, Brighton and Launceston Grammar all challenging for the minor placings here. We've got 8 schoolboy 8s coming fast and furious towards the finish line, and I think it could be anyone's game. In fact, Brighton Grammar coming home strong. Geelong still holding on. The lead Victorian crew and the lead crew indeed here in the schoolboy 8 sprint here. Brighton Grammar in the lead. Scots have almost got the Scotch Oakburn.
That's going to need a photo.
I thought it's certainly Geelong Grammar who's taken the win there.
That's the only medal I'm willing to give. Geelong Grammar definitely won. I don't know about any of the others. Silver, bronze. That is a toss of the coin on that far side of the course. Christchurch, St Augustine's.
We might have had. I think Christchurch was a pretty good call for the silver there. St Augustine's was certainly amongst it. But so were Brighton in the closing stages of that, and it says 1.81 of a second. That's certainly not the margin there. We've got Christchurch, we've got Geelong Grammar, Christchurch, and St Augustine's. So gold to Geelong. It's just disappeared off our screen. We'll wait for that confirmation. Oh, what a fantastic race, Ben!
Wow, just look at those margins. Oh, very, very tight. Very, very tight. Look at that. 0.76, 0.29, 0.05, 0.17, 0.33, 0.85, 0.37.
So the winners of the Schoolboy 8 sprint, Geelong Grammar. The silver to Christchurch, the bronze to St Augustine's in the end.
So we're going back to the start. We've got the PR3 men's single scull sprint, and they're just about to get underway here. So we've got Aaron Skinner from Nestles Rowing Club in Victoria in lane 3, Mac Russell from the Uni of Queensland in lane 4, and Michael Taylor from Tasmania University in lane 5.
Yeah, Mac Russell in the centre lanes.
He would be the favourite. He came fourth in the PR3 men's single scull over 2Ks, but Wilkinson, Stenell and Bartlett, the gold, silver and bronze, not in this race. Michael Taylor finished 5th. Aaron Skinner was in 6th place in that one. So that may give you some kind of indication as to what may play out in front of us here. I'm just having a look at the 500 metre split times, actually. Well, 500 metre split times, Aaron Skinner actually beat Michael Taylor to the 500 in that race despite finishing behind him at the 2K. Mac Russell was 2nd through the 500 in that race. So he is going to be quick, Michael Russell. You will not miss him in the middle of the course, but don't be surprised, maybe we could see Aaron Skinner and Michael Taylor battling it out for the silver medal in this race. And that'll be a tight run thing.
Yeah, I think this will be reasonably tight here. Aaron Skinner for Nestles, I think is rowing the single for Victoria tomorrow. Mac Russell's won more singles in the more titles in the interstate single than I can count for Queensland. Aaron Skinner on the far side there, the local, performed fantastically in the PR3-4 earlier today.
So as I mentioned, Michael Taylor, who's over on the far side, beat Aaron Skinner in the 2K event, but it is Skinner who beat him to the 500 in that race, and right now he is ahead of him in the race for the silver medal. But out in front it is Mac Russell from the University of Queensland, coached by Michael Russell. There's about 200 metres left to travel. They've got a lovely tail breeze behind them now after we had the head breeze earlier. It has swung around this afternoon. Is there a little bit of a push at the back end from Aaron Skinner from Nestles? Michael Taylor is certainly coming back into it. I thought that this might be a tight one for silver, but I tell you what, he's pushing up here on Mac Russell is Aaron Skinner from Nestles. Mac Russell's going to have a little bit of work to do here at the back end of this race. He is in the gold medal position right now, the Queenslander out of the University of Queensland. Still in silver is Aaron Skinner, and then Michael Taylor from Tasmania University in 3rd place right now. Just 3 in this race, so the gold and silver medals handed out. And Mac Russell with just a few strokes now with that tail breeze helping push him to the line. He is going to claim the gold medal, and Aaron Skinner the silver medal for Nestles Rowing Club, just edging out Michael Taylor in the PR3 men's single scull sprint.
Yeah, we heard from Alvini earlier on the commentary, and we saw it there again. Mac Russell just pausing the watch at the end, and you can find him on Strava, an avid user of Strava to track all of his data.
Do you use Strava?
I do. I haven't in a while because I don't tend to do a lot of exercise recently.
Are you a segment chaser?
I used to be. I used to be a big segment chaser.
What about,
when I lived in Artarmon, there are a lot of very niche segments around Sydney's Lower North Shore that I'd go for during the lockdown.
What about would you get in a car and drive around to try and snag a few segments?
Depends who had the segment.
You've got to drive. No,
there may be an instance of me doing that because my housemate held the segment on our street.
But you can't go too fast.
Yeah, you can't raise suspicion. You can flag someone else's segment. It doesn't. It just removes it. It's a bit of a game.
Yeah. No, it is a bit of fun. It is a bit of fun. All right, we've got the Open Women's Quad Scull Sprint. We've got Swan River in lane 1, North Esk in lane 2, Toowong in 3, ANU 4, Tasmania University 5, North Esk Melbourne Uni Composite in 6, Adelaide Uni in 7, Rockhampton Fitzroy and Maroochy River Composite in lane 8. And that is looking like a pretty solid line. So you've got Swan River there in the yellow shell right in front of the 1,500 metre buoy. So 500 metre sprint. And we have got 3 races left after this one, and we've got some ones to look forward to. Open Women's Cox State, Open Men's Cox State, Open Men's Quad. So we're salivating up here in the commentary box. We cannot wait for these races to come. 4th last race of the day, race 580 of this regatta, and it is the Open Women's Quadruple Scull Sprint. And you can see maybe it is the yellow shell on the near side. Swan River getting away nicely, but coming through the middle of the course now is ANU in lane 4. The blue boat of North Esk was sitting there nicely, but they may have dropped back a little bit. But right now it is lane 4, ANU leading the way. Lane 6 coming through now, the North Esk Composite. Could the Tassie locals get one on home water here? They're in lane 6. That is a composite with Melbourne University, Hucker, Hogarth, Ravi and Lily Barker from North Esk. So they're in lane 6 and they're currently maybe just in front as they come down here. Lane 7, Adelaide Rowing Club are also moving through the field nicely. It is still ANU in front. Lane 1, Swan River, they've been there and thereabouts. So they're a little bit further back, but they're a chance at pushing maybe for the podium. But right now, just being able to lengthen out as they enter the last 100 metres. It is the North Esk Composite and it is ANU. They are going for it down to the line. Adelaide Rowing Club in those distinctive colours. Toowong also may be challenging here if they can move their way through the field in the last 100 metres. But it is between the locals, the North Esk Melbourne Uni Composite and ANU for the victory here in the Open Women's Quadruple Scull Sprint. Back in 3rd place in the bronze medal is Adelaide. It will be the crew in lane 4. ANU from the North Esk Composite who gets silver. Adelaide are just going to hang on for the bronze medal, edging out Tasmania University. And then Toowong in 5th, Swan River 6th, North Esk 7th, Rockhampton Fitzroy Maroochy Composite in 8th place.
And the ANU crew there, Hannah Tippett, Alex Moylan, Elora Kelly and Catherine Kahn backing up their silver medal in the Open Women's Quad earlier today in what was far trickier conditions than what we've got this afternoon. So those girls will really enjoy that win. North Esk Melbourne Uni in 2nd, Adelaide in 3rd place.
And we're actually underway in the Open Women's Cox State. Gee, that has come like
Keep
lightning.
me on my toes. So Melbourne Uni in lane 2, the University of WA Composite with the National Training Centre. That's the West Australian Queen's Cup crew in the pink Empacker shell. UTS Haberfield in lane 4, the University of Queensland Composite with Sydney Uni in lane 5. I think that's the Queensland Queen's Cup crew, in fact. And then the Swan River Composite in lane 6. I don't think that's an interstate crew, but at the moment, the University of Queensland composite crew and the University of West Australian composite crew are getting away well. The pink Empacker Shell striding out to an early race lead over the Queenslanders. It's West Australia and Queensland. UTS looking to pick up the scraps for a bronze medal there. The far side, the second West Australian composite challenging well with the Melbourne Uni crew on the near side of the course, who perhaps were as shocked as I was at the early start of this race and appear to be left behind in the early stages. It is still the West Australians in the pink Empacker Shell. That is the West Australian Queen's Cup crew who will compete later on tomorrow, or I think it actually might be their Youth 8 crew that will compete tomorrow. It is, in fact, the Queen's Cup crew that will compete tomorrow for the Queen Elizabeth II trophy in the Interstate Regatta, the penultimate race of the regatta. They're going stroke for stroke with the University of Queensland. It's the Queenslanders and the West Australians here in the closing strokes of the Open Women's 8 sprint. It'll be the Queenslanders at the shadows of the post. The Queenslanders get it over the West Australians. And then it is the second West Australian crew on the far side who just pipped UTS Haberfield for the bronze medal. Melbourne Uni will finish fourth. The UQ Sydney Uni composite, University of WA composite, or the West Australian Queen's Cup, and then the second WA composite crew, making it two crews from over west on the podium.
Yeah, it is saying photo, but it did look fairly clear cut from up here in the commentary tower. And they are giving it 0.07, the gap between Uni of WA composite, Uni Queensland.
It has just flipped around. We'll just wait for confirmation there, because I'm pretty confident that was the University of Queensland in front.
Well, we've got the Open Men's Quad. We'll try and get that to you ASAP. Open men's quad scull sprint. Adelaide University in lane 1. North S2, Fremantle 3, Army Rowing Node India in 4, UTS in 5, North S6, Wendouree Ballarat, Banks Composite in lane 7, Leichhardt in lane 8. Now keep an eye on the middle of the course. I think this is going to be a real battle. UTS and the Army Rowing Node India. That is going to be a fascinating duel. UTS in lane 5. They've got it really, really nicely. The crews on each edge. Adelaide Uni, Leichhardt. They're dropping away here. It is UTS leading the way, but we know the Army Rowing Node India, if they straighten that boat, they can get it moving. They have got one hell of a finish. I tell you who's also moving, Fremantle. They are absolutely flying, and so too is the crew next to them from North Esk. Look at North Esk. I know they did very well in this event last year. I'm pretty sure they won it in Sydney. They are absolutely flying. Birtwistle, Fenner, Dickenberg and Barrett, and they're going to challenge UTS here all the way down to the line. It's like they were shot out of a cannon at the 250 metre mark. North Esk Rowing Club versus UTS all the way down to the line. Will it be the Tasmanians or will it be UTS? It is just going to be UTS. North Esk, silver, and I think the Army Rowing Node have just been edged out by Fremantle, but I tell you what, didn't North Esk get that boat moving quickly?
That was unreal, Ben, and shot out of a cannon at the 200 metre mark. What a piece of commentary from yourself. You're on fire, mate. But North Esk, they'll line up in the Club Men's 4 tomorrow. Switching 2 oars for 1.
They should win it, I think. They've got a very strong crew. That is a very strong crew. I know last year in the Club Men's Double D on Birtwistle and Rowan Fenner, well, they should have made the final. They were in the semi-final with us, and went like absolute lightning. They missed out, and they did a 6:51. Yep. So I think that crew, that's going to be very, very quick in the Club Men's 4 tomorrow. Yep. They
lost to the first Sydney crew in the heat.
I think Sydney might do it.
But the second and third Sydney crews that won the other heat, very similar time to the North Esk boys.
It'll be a great race. It will be a great race.
Yep. I know Sydney have got designs on all 3 crews on the podium, but North Esk, they're looking to upset the apple cart there.
Is there money on the bar somewhere for Sydney if there's a lot of wins?
I don't think I can disclose that.
Well, I'm just thinking, any club that does well, they'll certainly be celebrating long into the night on on Sunday. So we've got the last race of day 6.
The final race of the sprint regatta. Another interstate crew lining up. We've got, we do have the results there of the Open Women's 8 sprint, and it was in fact the West Australians who got the win by 0.07 of a second over the University of Queensland crew. And the second of the West Australian crew is the Swan River Composite for the bronze. So official results there in the women's 8 sprint as we wait for the men's. We've got the West Australian crew in lane 1. That is their Queen's Cup, who will race tomorrow in the final race of the regatta. Did I just say Queen's Cup? That is their King's Cup that will race in the final race of the regatta.
It's after how many hours have you been on air today, Chris?
Far too long. Far too long. A very.
Oh, hang on. Are we getting a bit of a close-up? Wave out the window.
A little bit of a wave there to the drone team.
Look at the timekeepers. They're the real heroes. Look at that.
They're the hardest working people here in the sprint regatta. They're doing a fantastic job down there, and certainly the fastest hands in the south, I think. On the timing buttons. And so the West Australians in Station 1, the canned composite with the National Training Centre. That's the Queensland Kings Cup as well. So you've got the West Australian Kings Cup, the Queensland Kings Cup in lane 2, UTS Haberfield in lane 4 with Terry O'Hanlon on the strings, who, full credit to him, is probably the oldest competitor here at the regatta. A very, very experienced coxswain.
You're not going to say ages?
I'm not going to say ages. It's, in fact, I was commentating some sprint canoeing the other day, and they've got all the ages there on the draw. And
was it Masters? I know it wasn't Masters. No. I know for Masters it always says the age, and always think, oh.
No, so I think they use the same systems as us. So I think Rowing Manager could possibly do it. We could have all the ages, but maybe for the sake of some in this race, I won't pull that up. Toowong in lane 5, making it 2 Queensland crews here on the course, and the Army Rowing Node India, who have already taken 2 national titles today, and I think 4 overall so far this regatta. Will look to add a sprint title.
They're using the ADF shells, I'm told, as well. Australian Defence Force Rowing Club.
And certainly the ADF oars that they've got that we can see.
Look at that view of the boat park. And if you manage to secure a park early, you'll be very, very happy, because you only have to walk about 50 metres from the entry point. Had to go to the overflow.
Haven't yet had to use the
What about the
week's
second
flat
overflow or the third?
There's
I think that's where
overflow?
I am. I'm in there about the third overflow. So we're going for a long walk, Chris, as I drop you back.
You don't have a VIP parking pass for the commentary?
I wish. I wish. Now, come on, can we get this right? What's doing here? It's the Open Men's Cox. We've got Coxes, and what's doing here?
They need to get
They're just trying to build
there.
the suspense, aren't they?
There is a lot of suspense. I think maybe they don't know we're missing the Swan River crew in lane 2 that's scratched. We're also missing crew from Melbourne University Boat Club, who I don't think appeared on our draw anyway, because it's right in the fine margins at the bottom of the page. Yeah, should just be the 5 crews that we've got there. And they're pretty close to being ready to racing. They'll straighten up and move up to the start line shortly.
Now, apparently I've been told, now this is someone watching on the live stream, that the UTS bow seat, the person sitting in the bow seat of the UTS boat had is holding a seat, as in the seat has come out.
So that UTS bow seat would be Edward Kelly.
So they're going to row it like you'd row a surf boat.
Oh, well, I don't think they're dressed for it.
Throw him a bit of soap, something to make that slippery, because that is going to be very, very difficult.
On the slides too. No, it might not be good for that black,
for
teal and white Zooty.
Oh, I don't want to see the Zooty at the end of that.
No, that's certainly not going to go well. Looks like Ed Kelly there has sorted his seat out, if it isn't dead, him in the bow seat. And once all the crews are ready, the WA Kings Cup is currently straddling the buoy line between lanes 1 and 2. Lane 2 is vacant, but probably not the best idea to try and use both of them. They are away and racing here in the final race of the penultimate day of the regatta here at the Australian Rowing Championships in the Open Men's Coxed Quad Sprint, or Coxed 8 Sprint rather. It is the West Australian Kings Cup on the near side of the course. Have gotten away well. So have the University of Technology Sydney in the centre of the course. The Queensland Kings Cup crew in lane 3, second from the bottom of your picture, are going with them. I think the Army Rowing Node India got just a slightly slower start than the rest in the opening stages of this race, but they'll look to bring that back in the closing stages. We've seen more than one sprint finish from the Army Rowing Node India here at the Australian Rowing Championships, and here they come, the Indians on the far side of the course, the West Australian Kings Cup crew on the near side of the course. It's the West Australians and the Indians, UTS and the Queenslanders looking to get in on the action. The only ones out of it at this stage, Toowong Rowing Club, the West Australian Kings Cup crew there on the near side of the course, striding towards a win here in the Open Men's 8 Sprint. The Indians on the far side appear to be fading. It's the West Australians and the Queenslanders. UTS looking to get themselves on the podium. The Army Rowing Node India throwing everything at it in the closing strokes. It'll be the West Australian Kings Cup crew who take the win. Incredibly tight for the silver medal between three crews, but it is the Queenslanders over UTS. The Army Rowing Node India in 4th place and Toowong in 5th. Ben, what a fantastic race to conclude Day 6 of the Australian Rowing Championships.
Well, we had the drama at the start with the seat coming out, the bow seat of the UTS boat, and they've come through, got a bronze medal, edged out the Army Rowing Node of India, who we know they have been coming home strong all week, so I'm surprised that they've been edged out. That's one of the first times I think they've been edged out in that kind of situation. WA Rowing Club, that is going to be a very intriguing race, isn't it? The Kings Cup tomorrow, final race on the program. Can Composite, the silver medal, and Army Rowing Node, as I said, 4th, Toowong in 5th. And even Toowong, they were coming at the back end, probably just didn't get the boat up to speed early enough. And, well, that's Day 6 done and dusted. And before Chris does his little read, I must direct you to the Rowing Down Under podcast. When you're driving back this afternoon, if you've only got a 20-minute drive, just put it on 1.5 speed or put it on double speed. You can still understand it all. Fantastic.
It's
Chris
a slightly
McCarthy
longer one today.
How many minutes is it?
It's actually 45 minutes
45 minutes, so put it on double speed or
double
1.5 speed, and you can get it done.
Yeah, Stuart and I had a chat this morning about all things schools and interstate racing tomorrow. Laid down our predictions, so if you're interested in our lukewarm takes, Rowing Down Under, wherever you get your podcasts, we'd love to have you on there. But
well, they're going to be out of date tomorrow at around what
yeah,
time?
get in quick, because it's not going to be good listening on Monday.
Unless you want to note down how many they got right if you're listening on Monday. But,
I'd love the feedback. Rowing Australia is broadcasting live for free via our YouTube channel all week until the final race on Sunday. Find the link on the Rowing Australia website and social media. Hello to our interstate and international viewers.